Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the. I almost said my old podcast name, but I almost fumbled.
Wow.
Oh, no. Listen, I think I just had a brain blast, bro, Jimmy Neutron style. Welcome back to the.
I think a brain blast is supposed to be smart, man.
The inverse brain blast, the opposite day brain blast, if you will. Welcome back to the Slot One Super Podcast. How are all of you doing this fine day? Of course, joining me, Dokkan Assets, we have whichever direction. I'm not even going to try and get it right at this point. Minato Splash and Mass Ningen. Say hello, boys.
Yo. There's been like multiple episodes to look at the screen.
I know, the cameras are in the same place every time as well.
And we'll still never remember.
We're both on your lefts. Yeah, we're both on your left and this whatever.
So I can't even say to my right and to my left. I have to say to my left and my far left.
That's something I say because I'm in the middle.
You get the special privilege.
You're the floater. Get out of here.
It's a slot support unit.
That's true. That's true. That's funny. That's funny. That's true. That's accurate. Anyhow, I hope you all are having a fantastic day. Of course, today is our long-awaited, long-anticipated Super Dragon Ball Heroes episode, where we're going to be talking all things Super Dragon Ball Heroes. And thankfully, they cooked, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
They cooked real hard. So, before we get into all of today's shenanigans, of course, as per usual, we just always like to give you a quick reminder that if you guys would like to support the podcast and you have any questions, comments, or shoutouts, we'll read all donations and super chats at the end of the show. So not only stick around for that, but obviously if you throw in one of those during the runtime of the show, we will be reading it at the very end. So don't you worry about it. All right, so we have quite a bit to talk about today.
Just a bit.
We have a lot. Not only do we have every single Heroes unit to discuss, every single Heroes Easy A to discuss as well, we also have to talk about all of the brand new content that was brought during this celebration. So, we are going to hop right into it because we have so many units to go through. If we don't start right now, we will be here for like double the time of the usual podcast, I'm sure. So, listen, this is a good problem to have because that means the Dokkan's cooking.
That's true. That's true.
Yes, sir. All right. Let's start off with a bang, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to talk about the big head honcho, the big man himself, Limit Breaker Super Saiyan 4 Vegito.
The boy.
Yes, sir. The boy. Now, I really want to give Ningen Rosé, so Minato, why don't you start us off with Vegito? What are we thinking about this man?
I love Vegito. Woo! I mean, what else are you supposed to say? He's that guy. He is that guy. Oh my goodness. It's like, remember when we saw his details and it was like, raises his attack for the turn? That could have had defense. And then he's like, oh no, he's actually like at like 800k plus defense with 60% reduction. Okay. Right? He's doing just these super attacks that do, depending on rotation. I mean, I've had this guy hit like a 15 mil attack stat and do 3 of those on a turn. With a 70% chance to crit each of those. The active skill on the full crossover setup, which you're probably going to run this guy on, I think the full crossover setup, right? He could use his active skill on turn 3, which that also activates his full defense passive that he gets when attacking. Basically at the start of turn, because he did attack. So, on a situation, let's say you're against Fusions Zamasu, you can get his full reduction that first turn against the final phase. And, I've had situations where he lived.
Uh-oh. Okay, so that's not just me. Oh, no. Minato's flashed away.
Well.
Oh, no. I think he's broken. His internet. Oh, no. Ninga, take us away.
So, Vegito, to continue exactly what Minato was saying. So, if you use his active skill, you get all of his defense. So, he can go up to what, like 500k, something like that, after you've used the active skill. So, then in slot 1, he can get supered by Fusion Zamasu and obviously just live because he has 500k defense and is like 60% damage reduction if it's within the first 6 turns. Like, he'll still take some damage if he gets hit in slot 1, like, anyway. But, like, the fact that he lives those kind of attacks is pretty crazy, on top of doing the kind of attacks that he's doing as well. So, yeah, he is pretty insane. What is happening with Minato? Oh, his internet cut out. Damn.
Oh, nice.
This dude.
He'll be back shortly. But yeah, I mean, there isn't really too much else to say when you encounter a really good unit like this in Dokkan. You know, usually most of the time the case is just the unit is good, they're cracked. Like, what else? You know, what more is there to say, really? I will say though, I was really impressed just with the fact that I know it like definitely wasn't as hard as the like normal one for sure. But I will say, ironically enough, I guess it's not like super hard content, so it's not anything crazy, I suppose. And I think they are boosted on it. But I was so impressed. Like, I didn't even try and run any sort of optimal team or anything like that. But the Great Saiyaman 3 event, right?
Yep.
I like, you know, ran him on there obviously because he's one of the units to run on there, and he just like completed all the missions. Like, I didn't use items. I didn't do anything. He literally, like, I didn't even have an optimal link partner for him, and he was just throwing out supers like crazy. High numbers, completing all the missions basically single-handedly. I know it's a little bit unfair of a comparison because he has the boost, but I was just like, I mean, like, I sat there, did nothing, and won. So that was quite impressive, to say the least. But yeah, I'm really glad that he ended up being really, really fantastic, because obviously him of all characters, right? I mean, he is the the headliner unit, and not to mention, right, he obviously is a character that people have been wanting in Dokkan forever, right? Like, basically, as soon as Limit Breaker Super Saiyan 4 Vegito, like, you know, was shown in Heroes, people have been, like, asking for him to be in the game since then. And I feel like it's been, like, what, 3 years? Something like that, maybe? 3-4 years? Maybe 4 is a little bit too much.
Yeah, I can't remember I can't remember when the Limit Breakers were first. I know, I can't remember. I'm thinking of the promotional anime as well, but yeah, even though it was a card, it was been quite a while, because people do love those fusions, especially Vegeta.
Yes, of course. Yeah, and Limit Breaker is such like a cool, like a cool addition, kind of basically to, to like Super Saiyan 4, where it's just kind of like, full power but a little bit extra almost, essentially. So it's pretty cool. But I know you, my friend, are the person that I was definitely waiting to hear you talk about the boy Rose, considering the fact that, of course,
talking about this guy. This guy right here.
We're talking about this guy, bro. Listen,
guy. That's right.
You are the mass Ningen. We have to know your opinion. I feel like Nardwar right now. You're the mass Ningen. We have to know. We have to know your opinion on this unit, bro. How are you feeling about this, man?
Yeah, so Super Saiyan 3 Rose. I think he's really good. It's hard to define exactly where I would put him in an overall sort of list, as like, I think it's a lot easier with Vegito. Vegito is definitely better than he is. I think that's pretty straightforward. I don't think anyone would disagree with that, even if you prefer him as a character, prefer how he looks, prefer using him because you like the extreme version of the team, whatever. But obviously 1-to-1, Vegito is definitely better. But I do think Rose is very, very good. The one thing I have kind of learned from using him quite a bit now is that he, even in a situation where he has his guard, he is not really a slot 1 unit, right? Because he, like many of these new super, the heroes units, he gets a lot of defense on super from his passive. And then obviously, like, once he's transformed, he's raising it for the turn. I think he does raise for 1 turn actually pre-transform, and he has the infinite stack. But like, so slot 1, you don't really want him there, because even with guard, like, I've taken him into all of the different difficult red zone stages, and he can be taking like 90 to 100k even from normals in slot 1. Then he supers, and then it's like double digits. So he's not really a slot 1 unit, and then he can do very well. I think his biggest issue, because obviously, I could go on and on about how much I love this card. I love the aesthetic of it and everything. Like, it's I'm a sucker for it, right? Because he's a master unit. He looks super cool.
Right,
but
of course.
like, realistically, I am a little bit disappointed that he didn't get big bad bosses. I know technically the story of like the arc that, especially in the promotional anime, like he isn't the boss of the arc,
Right.
and obviously Fu is the one that got big bad bosses.
Yeah.
Okay, man.
Hello.
Lancer's back. Just
Welcome
invisible
back.
currently.
Yeah, no, give it.
But yeah, so
thinking-
I think him not getting big bad bosses is disappointing. It doesn't affect his performance as much as like you might think in terms of, it's not like he's suddenly putting out low numbers offensively or defensively. But the biggest issue with him not having big bad bosses, there he is. The problem with him not having big bad bosses is how it affects the rotations and like the team building and stuff, right? Because like I said, he's not a slot 1 unit. You want to run him in slot 2, but then you have some of these other characters, especially the extreme units, like the Tech Janemba, who obviously we'll talk about. His Awakening's really good. Fu, who, we'll talk about all these guys. These other units that have big bad bosses, it means you have Rosé as a unit that you want to have in slot 2, but he doesn't have big bad bosses. So he's like breaking up those 2 units that would share that link, and obviously they benefit from having it. He obviously, imagine how crazy he would be if he did have it, like extra 25% attack and defense on top of what he's doing already. But him not having it, it's not like he needs it for his numbers to be good, but the fact that he doesn't have it does kind of hurt the team building a little bit, because like I really like him, I really want to use him, especially if I'm running double leads, but I don't want to float him, and I don't really want to put him in slot 1. So I think that's his biggest issue, and it's not just big bad bosses. In terms of linking on the heroes team, he doesn't actually link super well with a lot of the other heroes units, apart from like Broly.
I noticed that.
And then there's a bunch of them that he shares like 3 links with and stuff, which, he still does well despite that. But yeah, is a little bit disappointing. But all in all, I think he's very, very good. Whilst he's not quite as good as Vegito, he's definitely the second best of the new units, I would say. So I very much enjoy using him. So yeah, Minato, I kind of took over from what you were saying about Vegito, so I don't know if you want to go back at all. But
I mean, I don't know what you said, but I just want to say Vegito, he's like on par with these like good Dokkan Fest, right? I think they made him absolutely fantastic. I pretty much described mostly what his kit was anyways, and I'm sure you guys kind of picked that up for me. I apologize for my internet cutting out. I just someone unplugged box by accident in my router, and I was like, oh well, I'm gone.
Outrageous.
But with Rose, I would say big bad bosses is important, and it's not necessarily. I mean, even with his own performance against AoE attacks, he does take damage from these AoEs. So like him not having big bad bosses and getting that 25% extra defense not only makes him link worse with some of these heroes units like Hearts, Fu, right? It also hurts him defensively, and I think that a big issue is his defense is all on attack, but then it's like he's like a guarding floating, and it's like they want you to float him off. It's really weird. But I would rather maybe if he had big bad bosses, he would hit a lot harder, and maybe make his defense when guard is activated instead of like when attacking, and then you could put him in slot 1 even.
Yeah.
Those are my biggest issues with him, but he's still pretty good. Once he super attacks, he is able to live any super in the game. Maybe, instead of those things, they could have given him support so that he works better with these other heroes units. Like, okay, he may not be linking up like with big bad bosses or anything, but if he's giving like 30% of support to crossover, or even 40% support to crossover, and you have him as a floater, he could be really good in that role. But that's it. It's just my little things about him. He's good though. He's good.
By the way, I did look it up. Funny enough, I mean, I guess it makes sense because they're both villains, but out of all the heroes units, Rosé links the best with Broly, both of them, 5 links, which is just kind of funny. But
sorry, one other thing, Ningen, did you talk about where you would rank Vegito, or did we not talk about
Not yet, no.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
Talk about that. We can talk about that after we talk about all of the new units. Or
that's what I was thinking. Yeah. Okay. Let's continue there.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Okay. Anything else about Rosé, or
do
we have all thoughts?
I like his heal.
Yeah.
That's all I will say.
Yes. Also, it is a little bit disappointing that it's not an active skill because obviously,
Yeah.
if you could choose not to transform, there's definitely some instances in certain events where, because he can still obviously hold his own in his first form, it would be nice to get those extra stacks. Because I've actually had a couple of turns. I think, what was it? Oh, it was when I did the burst mode. So when I did the heroes burst mode, which I guess we will probably cover some of the events after we talk about the units, but obviously in the burst mode, you fight a Goku. And so when he's in the Super Saiyan 3 form, he's getting that extra additional super chance in his passive. And I think I had one of the two, because I ran double Rosé for that mission. And I'm pretty sure one of the two triple supered on both of his appearances. And then obviously then he transforms. So because he got 6 stacks in total, I think on his best turn when he had support, he got to like 15 million or something stupid when he was in like a full power Rosé. So it'd be really nice in the events where he can get by staying in his Super Saiyan 3. You could just choose not to transform and then just go absolutely crazy with him, especially when you could use it when like the heal would be more optimal because, you know, sometimes you get to turn 5 and he's transforming and you're on full health anyway. But yeah, other than that, it's a minor nitpick because obviously for global, if it was an active skill, we wouldn't have got a voice for it anyway, apparently. So.
Yeah, which, oh, right, I guess we should probably mention that since we're kind of on Vegito and Rosé. So unfortunately, obviously global did not get an active skill voice line for Vegito. And that also includes, by the way, because I know some people were confused about this, that also does include the JP voice line, which
just like Hearts.
It's dumb. Like I understand that. I'm sure it has something to do with, I don't know about copyright. I mean, I guess so. I would think it would have some. Really? Yeah, I don't know. I would think it would have something to do with like usage rights or something like that for it, basically, where, you know, like they're not allowed to use it or something. Because maybe of some
specifically have to pull the line from like, you know, games or something like that, like for the English dub. And then because it's like, oh, they don't have anything like that, they can't pull anything from it. Maybe they're not able to get the voice actors to voice it or something.
Well, I don't think that's it, because somebody literally, funny enough, somebody made it an English version where they took voice lines that was exactly what he was saying, basically.
Not exactly, but it was close.
I think the problem is it'll be some weird technicality with licensing where, like, even though they could take the voice line from an existing game, whoever it is that's in charge of like signing the contract that lets people use heroes is like, no, if you're using heroes, you can only use heroes. You can't use something from some other game. And so, because Heroes doesn't have any English dub, and obviously it's all in Japanese because it has the Japanese voices in the arcade in Japan, they can have those voices because they're from Heroes. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be something stupid like that because I saw people being like, "Oh, stupid global devs and stuff," and it's like, yeah, obviously it's got nothing to do with global devs. Like, if it was up to them, then obviously we would have it, and it is dumb that we don't. But yeah, and that's the thing. It won't be like a money related thing. Like, it's not like they couldn't afford to get like the voice lines or something. It will be some stupid like legal technicality, like a bunch of people, you know, in suits in a boardroom with the contracts, and it's like, no, you can use these specific things, and these are the like licensing rights that you can have or whatever. It'll be that kind of like technical dealing kind of thing, which it's annoying. I mean, for me, it doesn't obviously like ruin it because for me, most of the time I play the game with the sound off anyway. But like, it would be nice to, I do every now and then, like when I'm pulling new units and I'm doing things like, if I'm not recording and I'm just doing some random events for fun and stuff, it is nice when you get units for the first time to like crank up the volume and put all the animations on and stuff like that. So it is disappointing, but you know, it doesn't completely ruin it for me, but it is dumb that we don't have it. So
yeah, it is quite silly. I don't know, like, I don't know if there would even be any way that they could like fix that in the future or something like that. I don't know. I mean, obviously, the other problem is that, of course, when it comes to Heroes, right, the only Heroes property that we like technically have in the States, right? The only 2 times that we have ever had any Dragon Ball Heroes things here which I know you're in the UK, so this one of these extends to you. But obviously, World Mission, right?
Yep.
The Switch and the PC game. That's like basically was the West's quote unquote introduction into that. However, we did have one more thing before that, which was, I know this is super random, but it was at it was either at a Comic-Con or Kamei-Con. I don't remember which one. I think it was Kamei-Con, but they had they brought a Dragon Ball Heroes arcade machine from Japan, and they let you have the cards, and then they let you use the cards, and then use them on the machine. I think you maybe got to take one home or something like that too. But either way, though, those are like the only 2 times that we've ever had anything Heroes related. So obviously, I'm sure that the copyright or the rights or whatever that would be the linchpin is a little weird. I mean, not to mention even if you notice on Global, whenever they get a Heroes banner, it doesn't have the Heroes anniversary number on it. JP always has because it's the 13th anniversary of Heroes.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, every year it has been like that. I swear there was one year on Global where it wasn't, but I might be forgetting. Yeah, right there. That's the JP version, right? It has the 13th anniversary logo. Basically always, right? The JP version has the anniversary logo. So I'm sure that also is probably some kind of weird licensing thing where they can get the Heroes units and they can get the name, but they can't get all of it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I mean, to be fair, I guess for Global, what does it matter that it's the 13th anniversary of Heroes, right? But obviously for people in Japan, they play the game, so it matters to them because they have access to it. So I don't know. Anyway,
very weird.
Very weird. Regardless, though, moving on to the next unit, we have the big bad Dark King himself. Well, I mean, not the Dark King that has the mask on, but the other Dark King. With the beautiful cape flowing behind him. Oh, what a guy. What a man.
What a guy. We love Dark King.
What a guy. Well, Minato, since your internet decided to clown, I mean, this one over to you.
All right. Well, Demon Realm category. It's getting
let's go.
Cut off.
That's my goat right there. That's my goat.
I think we all agreed when we saw his details that he was good, except for one certain individual we shall not name.
Oh, that was so funny. The switch up.
The switch up. Yeah, you guys might have seen the tweet where I got a screenshot of the video.
He's so good. I thought
pretty good.
How could you not tell that he was good as soon as you saw his details? It's crazy.
I think the issue was the orb changing, but it's like the Heroes team. So the thing about him is that it could be inconsistent if you look at him on paper, is the fact that he changes these. He has the type orb changing. Mm-hmm. Usually type to type is the worst type of orb changing because you can't really control that. It's not in your favor. But the thing about Fu is that he gets his buffs per type key sphere. So even if you only get 3 STR spheres or even rainbow spheres, you have at least part of the passive up for him, right? It's not like he has to get 5 orbs and it's all or nothing. If it was like all or nothing, that would be an issue. I think a lot of times, there's been situations where I get 4 orbs, right? But another thing is that you could very easily set up the orbs for this guy if he's like a slot 3 floating unit. And then since he gives so much Kia support, you could literally miss super attacks with your slot 1 or 2 character. And as long as they're extreme class, right? Then when you grab the STR key spheres, he'll get 5 key support. So they're gonna auto super regardless, and all the hero units are TURs if you're running them on that team, which you do need to for the orb changing, or for the most part, right? And he's just gonna support them all, which is really, really good. Then he has that 50% dodge chance, he has the 50% support, and his defense gets pretty high after he supers, over a mil range, especially with the double super.
Yep.
Damage is okay, 9 mil range. I've seen him even hit that hard. But he's very powerful. He, links pretty well with some of these villain Heroes units. Just overall really well designed. I like using him quite a lot. He's very fun.
Yep. Yes, sir. You love to see it. Yeah, I was honestly pretty happy that he was picked for a choice this year.
Yep.
Obviously, he is like the final adversary of the arc. That of course basically like all these characters come from. I will say I do find it kind of interesting, and it almost makes me wonder if they're saving a universe tree Goku for a upcoming year. Because obviously, this guy is, Dark King Few and not Kid Few. I forget what the Kid Few's form is technically called, but
So this is
yeah.
really just like random, but not really random. It's related to what you're saying, but the story event ends. The current story event ends like right before that moment.
Yeah,
So
that's
why
true.
you're saying that. Uh-huh.
That's true. Yeah. So I'm thinking, hear me out, I'm thinking that maybe either, I mean, whether it be next year or a year in the future, right? I'm guessing they'll probably update that story event because obviously that story event is literally like the universe tree scene. So,
what if that Goku's an LR?
That would be great. Well, see, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. I will say that would be really cool. However, I think I would almost want the LR to maybe more be the fusion of the key of Xeno Goku and regular Goku, right? Of like
That's
where they stand, because that would feel even though that moment, like,
that Goku's like multiversal,
right? Yeah,
like just absorbs the universe.
It's so funny because it's like, a lot of those moments in Heroes where like these crazy shenanigans happen, it almost doesn't really amount to anything, but it's just cool for the sake of being cool, which I'm totally fine with because it's just the nature of it. But I think that would be awesome to have that as like a dual card. Maybe some what if supers of them attacking together or something like that. I don't know. That would be crazy. But I would not be opposed to having Universe Tree Goku be the LR for sure. But yeah, either way though, I definitely think that in the future, then that would lead to, Kid Few and Universe Tree Goku then coming in, and they would update the story event and whatnot. But I definitely like that they made him a choice, and it's cool to see. I will say as well, Heroes kind of giving Few some love, basically, because obviously, he doesn't even have like a card outside of Heroes, does he? No, it's only the. Nope. It's only the Heroes one because it's the two forms. The SSR one is his like base, and then I think it's just called Super Few, right? Where he has red eyes and his hair spiked up. And then obviously this one. I'm kind of surprised they've never made a Xenoverse Few, honestly. But I guess to be fair, we haven't had like a new Xenoverse unit in a while either.
Well, technically we got an Awakening for one, but like Bliss Celebration
for Few.
Super Strike one.
For Few?
No, for a Xenoverse, you name is. Yeah.
Oh, that's true. That's true. That's true. Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah, I just want to say that.
Yeah, no, you are right. You're right. I kind of forgot about him. I'm not gonna lie. Right, new. Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I don't know. I hope that we definitely get like more cards of him because it's cool that Heroes has given him some love. So I would not mind if one more Heroes card was like the Kid Few with the wing. I think that'd be pretty cool. But yeah, Ningen, anything else before we talk about
I think he's super good. Like, again, I can see what Minato was saying, and I guess it's where people made the mistake, right? You read what he does on paper, and I saw a lot of people replying to those original tweets where it's like, oh, so he's a unit that I'm going to be floating in slot 3, but then he creates orbs that he wants to pick up himself. So, like, how is that going to work? And it's like, actually, when you see it, because I said it in the tweet that I put out for the video, but I did 55% showcases for him, Vegito, and Rose, just because I felt they were like the 3 main ones that people would be interested in getting. And I said when I tweeted it out, I was like, I hadn't originally planned to do a 55% showcase for Fu, but I was glad I did because I was really impressed with his performance even at 55%. Obviously, he's much better with the dupes, but the thing that I noticed was exactly like Minato said, is like he's going to create a ton of orbs at the start of the turn, and unless you get really unlucky and you get one of those things like we're probably all used to with reloading in and trying that stupid punching bag event thing that we've been doing for the last couple of weeks, like unless you get too many orbs where you literally can't avoid picking them all up, it's just like Minato said, like everyone else on this rotation, you could just pick up one orb with them. And even if it was a rotation where the links aren't good and they need 6 ki to super, you just pick up 1 orb with them and then you pick up 12 orbs with Fu and suddenly everybody has full ki. Like, it's just so easy to manage those orbs for him, even though he's in slot 3. And then, like Minato said, if you do get a little bit unlucky with the orbs, even if you get like 4 or 3, he's still giving everyone an extra buff. 3 orbs, he's still giving everyone 3 ki, which is still good for a support unit. And obviously, he's still getting 30% chance to dodge. I just built him full dodge. You put him on the team, you chuck him in slot 3, and he's really good. He's got big bad bosses. And funnily enough, I didn't even realize until I was using him. I think it was actually after I did the showcase, because obviously I used him on the heroes team and just kind of forgot to look at the other categories that he was on. But because he's now like the Dark King Fu, he's absorbed like Mechikabura's power and stuff, isn't it? So he's on Realm of Gods, which I didn't realize because the original Fu obviously isn't. So because he's on Realm of Gods and Time Travelers, that means he's on Zamasu's 200% leader skill for the LR Fusion Zamasu. So you've got a support unit with big bad bosses on a team that can be full of LRs who, when you pick up his orbs, gives everybody 5 ki. So he's just really good. I guess the thing
you want to know for that is that he does want the crossover allies.
Yeah.
So it's like you would have to run some crossover units on the Zamasu team. Like, who would you run?
But like, there is a build, because I'm going to do a video. I did some test runs of it, but obviously there is the build of running Rose, Fu, and like a couple of other crossover units under Zamasu's leader skill, and that team can actually be quite fun. Even though, like I said earlier when we were talking about Rose, the downside could be if you want to run him on rotation, then you have your tech LL Zamasu's in slot 1 not getting big bad bosses. But I did a run against an event with that team, and it was pretty fun, especially when you get to like, you use the domain with Zamasu, become like Infinite Sky Zamasu. He's just tanking all the hits in slot 1 for 0, and then full power Rose's doing like triple 11 million attack stats in slot 2.
That's wild.
It's like, yeah, that's pretty good.
That sounds pretty good. I want to try that out.
That is wild.
And then, so Fu is just that nice little. He's not like, I wouldn't say he's like much worse or anything, but I wouldn't put him on the same level as Rose, but as I would call like the 3rd headliner, because I see it as kind of like he's the 3rd headliner, and then Broly and Vegeta are like the side banner units.
I think
he's still like very, very good.
Rose too, by the way. Like, I don't think I would put him above Rose either, but I think a lot of people would say that this guy is better than Rose. Which is kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, on his best turn, like if you have him with big bad bosses active and stuff like that, I've had turns where he's hitting like 9 million attack stat. And like you said, he can have really high defense. And if you picked up 5 orbs, he's got 50% chance to dodge, plus an extra 25 because he's got 25 dodge and hidden potential for me. So yeah, I've had turns where he does like 9 million attack stats, dodges every attack on the turn, and he was giving everybody like 42% attack and defense and 5 ki. So that's pretty good.
That's ridiculous. Yeah.
He's really good. Oof.
Yeah, he is really good. I'm glad that they picked him. I think it's kind of cool as well. I will say that I'm glad people are excited for a character who's not a
I mean, me and Zied, day one, we were waiting for this food. If you guys know Zied.
Wait, is it not Zed?
It's not
Zed. No, it is Zed. No, I talked to. I can confirm. I've spoken with him in DC, and I asked him, and he said it was Zed. Well, we need to talk to him.
It is literally Zied.
You know what? He's been. He's switching up on us then.
He's switching up on us. Oh, well, Annie said it's Zed. I'm wrong then. Whatever, man.
Let's go. Yes, sir. That's my breakers homie right there, bro. I know.
All right.
Anyway, moving on from the boy. Speaking of Broly, the big man himself is now our next unit up on the chopping block. Obviously, literal big man. Look at him. He's massive.
Did the superhero landing.
Yes, he is doing the superhero landing. I didn't even think about that.
No, he lands with his fists and then his hand breaks.
Yeah. So, obviously, this guy and Vegeta are kind of the units that have been getting a little bit slandered, and rightfully so. I would say. I don't even know if I would call it
Is slander
slander.
if it's true?
Yeah, that's right. I don't know if it's slander, if it's
Yeah.
just the truth, but
truth.
I mean the truth, DT. But Minato, you seem pretty amped to talk about this guy. What do you think about this this unit?
What an absolute loser! Like, what is the point? Oh, like what?
Bam,
like,
Minato really said.
Two of the last parts of his passive: additional super against 2 enemies. Never see that. Additional super against Fuse Spider. Oh, cool. So maybe he can be good against Zamasu. Wrong. He gets all his stats on super. He has to build up. So what Zamasu does? Kills him. He's dead. There's still no surviving, right?
He's so good.
And then it's like, oh, he's also like, he wants to do all these additionals and as a damage dealer, but then he's doing like 5 mil attack stats. Good job, buddy. You're trying your best. And then his best partner is a slot 2 unit. So it's like, okay, how are you gonna run that as a rotation? It's just very annoying. I hate this unit's design. It's almost like they designed him because they're like, okay, he could do 5 super attacks, but let's add these restrictions.
Yeah,
So then it's almost like they think he's gonna get 5 supers all the time, and it's like, you suck. You're not getting 5 supers all the time. Like, and his defense is like at most 500 to 600k, pretty much, right? Like,
Right.
what is he doing? Like,
what
why
is
would
bro cooking?
why would
Like,
you put him on the team?
I don't know. Even when I read his kit, and like you know that I'm like not as much of one. Like I care about what a unit does to a certain extent, but obviously it's like I know that's more so the you two are obviously on it when it comes to that sort of thing. But even for this one, bro, I pulled up his kit to like read it when I was because I rainbowed him, and I was like pulling it up to give him like whatever for his potential system, and I read his kit and I was like, that's it. I was like, first of all, the kit looks like really short compared to everybody else. Like you look at it, and I swear, like Vegito and Rose got like John 3:16 for their passive, basically. They got the whole Bible verse in there. But like for Broly, I swear it's like a short story basically. And of course, like you mentioned, all those restrictions is just why. I don't know.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Like, it feels like they thought he was going to do more or something. I swear sometimes when they design these units, they, like, think that there's more of, like, one type of boss in the game or something like that. Like, when they design a unit like this that, like, has some restrictions of, like, the number of enemies or the type of enemies, I swear they just think that they have, like, every character as a difficult boss in the game or something, but I don't know. It's just such a weird unit design.
It's like the thing for him is obviously they did that because it's like, oh, he fought both Vegetos, but then oh, he also tanked both Vegetos. So where is his tanking ability?
Yeah,
right. It's like,
I agree with you.
It's really weird. Like, honestly, give this guy 50% reduction and he's good. Why not give him guard?
Or not even that. It's just like, what is he supposed to do? It's like, if he's doing these additional supers and he's supposed to be a damage dealer, give him like give him like greatly raise attack for 1 turn on his super attack effect, and then give him like 50% chance to crit in his passive or something. But like, like even on turns, I took him into the burst mode, so obviously you're fighting multiple enemies, and like even turns where he's doing like 4 supers, he's doing like 4 to 5 million 4 times, and that's it. And it's like, I had a turn where like he didn't crit on any of them, and it's just like, it's when I first saw his details just by reading them briefly, because there were so many to read that day because they all came out. I just read it and it was like, okay, well the restrictions are annoying for these additionals, but maybe with the ones that he can do on regularly, he might still be okay. He's like a good link partner for Rose, so it could be fun to run them together. But then it's like, you get him and use him, and it's just like, oh no, he is terrible. Like, well, again, he's not like, well, for the very difficult events, you could probably say he is unrunnable. But like, I would say he's not like unrunnable trash garbage, but just like with all the units that we have on the Heroes team now, and how good some of the older ones still are, and the easy A's, it's just like, if you're building the ideal team for him, even if you are the ideal Heroes team, even if you wanted to limit yourself, say, to like doing extreme only, so you're not bringing the Vegetos, you just probably are not running him because there are just other options that are better, which is really disappointing, because one of the things about this year that we obviously all were quite excited about was they sort of done away with this whole you're getting units that don't awaken. So, you know, I figured that we might get maybe Vegeta and Fu. I thought it would be, because I wasn't sure I didn't realize they were going to treat Fu more like one of the headliners and kind of shaft Broly. But I thought, if this Broly, this could kind of be a situation where if he'd come out as a unit with this kind of kit and this kind of performance, but he was one of the units that didn't awaken, then we could be like, oh, well, he kind of sucks, but at least he's going to awaken next year. Except, no, this is it. This is all we get now. So there's your Limit Breaker Super Saiyan 4 Broly. We won't get another one, and he kind of sucks. So
Cooler's SSR better than this guy.
Yeah. Cooler and Janemba are both better than him. Yes, absolutely.
As SSRs, I would argue.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, Cooler as an SSR, I think, is better.
Yeah, Janemba is obviously one of those unfortunate, like, he can build up to some decent defense, but once he lost his guard, it was kind of like GG. But because I mean, this guy, he just has no tech, right? Like, even if you can get the additional supers, he just has some defense, and
it's like he's bad at defending, he's bad at offense, he does no special abilities, no support, orb changing, nothing. He's just plain, but he sucks at being plain.
Yeah.
So he's just bad.
No, that's true. You know,
look at him anymore. I'm not
you know what's ironic about that? The last thing I'll say before we move on to another stinky gamer here. You know, the ironic thing about you saying that, the fact that, like, he can't even awaken because he's, obviously like a UR. When I read his kit, literally, like, the first thing that I thought was like, oh, they're saving him for an easy A, basically. Like, I was like, maybe they just made him bad on purpose to then give him an easy A later, but like,
he's gonna easy in 3 years, man. Who cares?
Right, that's what I mean. Like, but I'm like, but that's such a stupid mentality, because like the rest of the three big boys are really good. Like, they don't need an easy A, right? I mean, maybe at some point, but like, certainly not now. I don't know. It's just a very weird choice. Like, I don't know. When a unit baffles me, I feel like that's a telltale sign that it's not good.
Oh, I can't wait till the next unit then.
Oh man. Oh boy. I
jump straight in, shall we?
Put him on the screen. Oh man, what a guy that Vegeta is. Well, Ningen, we've been hearing Mia Minato speak for a little bit. How are we feeling about this individual here?
Man, look how they massacred my boy. Yeah, he just, again, it's kind of like the Broly, where it's just like, he just doesn't do enough. Like, he's not completely terrible. He's just not good enough to really warrant being used, which in the grand scheme of things, we could say that means he is terrible. But like, it's just, I did the showcase for him today. I got mine to 90%. He's the only one I didn't rainbow, because I'd rainbowed all the other units. When I pulled the last copy of Vegito, who was the last one that I needed, this guy was at 90%. And it's like, we've talked about it before when summoning for other Dokkan Fest and LRs and stuff like that. Like, 90% and 100%, the difference isn't that much. And like, with him being as bad as he is, I'm not going to waste more stones on the banner, potentially pulling like all the featured units I've already rainbowed to get that last copy of him. So he's the only one I don't have rainbow. But yeah, 90% full level 10 links. And I think the highest I managed to get him up to was like a 7 million attack stat. And he has like 500k defense. But again, like Broly, no real tech to go with it outside of against one enemy, and if he's on a rotation with 2 other heroes allies, he does have a 100% chance to crit, which is pretty cool. But it's like he's doing a crit on a 7 million attack stat, and that's it, right? And then if you're at multiple enemies, he's still got a very high crit chance, gets a guaranteed additional super, and can dodge, which is cool. But like, it's just not something that you'll see very often. Like, I feel like he wouldn't even be that broken if they just made that his base passive. Like, if it was against the one enemy, if he just had a chance to do an additional super and had built-in dodge, he still wouldn't be like one of the best heroes units. So it feels like they held back on him way too much for some reason, which is a shame, because just like Limit Breaker Broly, and it does apply to most of the heroes units in general, but it's one of those very unique like forms. So it's like, we're not going to get another one.
Right.
And this one just kind of sucks and has already awakened. So yeah, just
Right.
like you were saying, like we're kind of joking about it, but like, yeah, maybe in 3 years when he gets his EZA, he might be good. But it's like, cool. So
Yeah, I
pretty
mean,
unfortunate.
His dodge
Yeah.
should have been. He should have got 25% dodge per hero's ally instead of it being locked behind 2 enemies.
Mm.
And then it's
Yeah.
like on the full hero's rotation, he has the 50% chance to dodge. And then that would have made him a lot better still.
Yeah, it's like
But
Super
yeah.
Battle Road, he could be good, but like the problem with these designs, where because obviously you know I'm all about the Super Battle Road, or at least I have been. You know, it's kind of sad to say we're in that state now where it's really not like what I would consider end game content. With how
Yeah.
it feels like they just never scaled it to like the 200% teams. So many of these new stages are just so easy. But the thing with this guy, right? So the thing that always puzzles me when they design units like this is he's not great for red zone, like tough bosses where there's one enemy. But against something like Super Battle Road, he could be really good. Like he lowers attack, I believe, as well. So he's got some decent effects. He can dodge. He's getting extra supers. Like he could be quite useful. But the problem is when you look at like the categories that he's on, like all of those Super Battle Road stages, for the most part, there might be like 1 or 2. All of those stages are stages that are already out and have been in the game for ages. So what's the point of releasing a unit that is good, like in a Super Battle Road stage that came out like 6 months ago? Because unless you're a new
Right.
player, you've already done that stage. So it's kind of
Yeah.
like, what's the point of making a unit that's only good in an old event that nobody really plays anymore? And they still didn't give us a Heroes Super Battle Road. I feel like we're at the point now where that's obviously just never going to happen
Yeah.
because they would have done it by now. So yeah, I think that's my biggest gripe with mentioning it for him specifically. But so many of the units, they just randomly threw in some extra, like they do this against multiple enemies, and then they didn't release any content where you fight multiple enemies in the celebration. It's like,
Yeah.
I just don't get it.
Yeah, I think
No.
I don't know. It's such a weird decision. Because like I'm trying to think like is there some like reason within the anime that like he would be like multiple enemies or something?
Doesn't
But
he
I mean,
fight, does he fight? He fights Kumba and Turles, doesn't he? I think.
I guess, but like I still feel like that's not like good enough of a reason. I don't know. Yeah, and what you were saying too is so true with the with like the fact that he'll never get another card. Because like for example, right, with the Limit Breaker Super Saiyan Force, right, they might end up getting another card in the future because obviously Heroes, I would hope, would still do like the Dragon Fist against Black Janemba, right?
Yeah.
Where obviously they have
both of
that.
them together, right? You
Yeah,
know?
that'd be
Right.
cool.
But still, I guess that's fair, yeah. But I feel like still, regardless though, it would still be like a new version of them, kinda. But there's still so many more scenes that they could take from them, or they could obviously take from just like Xeno, Goku, and Vegeta or whatever. But I mean, Berserk Vegeta is quite literally like in one scene in the whole arc, and then they never use him again, and then he doesn't show up again. So yeah, I don't think.
Though even like the worst part is I feel like his design with how it is with the Easy A's, they like to keep the spirit of the design. So with how his design
Yeah.
is now, I just don't see where like, oh, with an Easy A he could be good. Unless they
Yeah.
like completely rework the dodge or the additional, like they would have to completely change that. And then it's like, well, who cares? Like, what if it's like, I don't even know, man. It's just dumb.
Yeah.
Maybe it could be a thing where it's like when he Easy A's, he gets an additional other than the dodge chance, or he has a dodge chance baseline, but then the additional you can get multiple of them depending on the enemies that are on the field. I don't know, man. It's just dumb. I don't like him.
Yeah.
Mid.
He just doesn't do enough. He has pointless restrictions that are hard to fulfill, and then what you do get in most events is just not good enough, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well.
Let's move on to a good
man.
unit.
Yeah, Sawi Vegeta. We're going to be talking about, speaking of Janemba, actually, good that I mentioned him before. We have the boy Janemba up on the chopping block now. And thankfully, Janemba will be fighting back the chopping block because he is really, really good.
Oh, yes.
I am actually pretty satisfied with how they did the man. What do you think, Mr. Ningen? How you feeling about this
Dude,
guy?
he is awesome. Like in this current meta where the events are really short, he's really, really good. Now, the one thing I will say from trying him in a few different events is he can get caught because, like a lot of units that need to build up by being hit, if the first attack he takes is a super, he can take a lot of damage.
Right.
But he's got big bad bosses. He builds up. He raises defense for 3 turns on super, which means the next time he appears on the rotation, as long as you didn't float him off, he still has that defense from the previous turn. So if he double supers or triple supers, or actually I think he can only additional if there's multiple enemies, which is another random one, which obviously he gets because he fights both the Limit Breaker Super Saiyan 4s.
Right.
But yeah, like I did my showcase for him yesterday, Rainbow level 10 links. I can't remember. Did he double super on turn 1? I can't remember. But he got hit enough times to get his full passive active. So on turn 2, I think it was with support from Fu and obviously sharing big bad bosses with him. He had 1.1 million defense
Wow.
on turn 2 with guard.
Wow.
So it's like he's literally invincible against everything in the game on the second turn. So
That's pretty wild.
And then, of course, once you do get his attacks built up, it's really fun, actually, seeing him additional super in the same turn, because his passive build-up that he gets is like 80% attack with each super performed. I think it's up to, is it 240? So if he does a double super, you literally see him go from like 2.5 to like 5.1 or something in the same turn.
Wild.
Because it jumps up by so much. So then, yeah, once he gets to his max, I think the highest I got him to in that video, which I can't remember if it was the 4th or 5th super. I think it might have been the 5th, so he was fully built up. But he still managed to get up to like a 10 million attack. And that's on a unit that is pushing 1 million defense fairly consistently and guards. And he still does that much damage. So he's just really, really good. The only problem, like I say, is you can get hit hard early on. And then the downside is similar to what we saw with like Hearts and... technically Vegito could suffer from this as well, though he does get an extra turn and then you can use the active skill and all that kind of stuff. But if you take him into a really difficult event and you go past the 5th turn and then he loses his guard, then it's a little bit more sketchy because, you know, he can still have 800k defense after supering, but then if he gets hit with a super against some of these bigger bosses now, he's still going to take a lot of damage from that and potentially even get one shot. Because, you know, I've seen even back in the day, like 23rd World Tournament Goku with 1 million defense, if he doesn't guard, gets one shot by Metal Cooler Core. And we've now got bosses like, you know, the physical fusions of Masu, who's hitting for over 2 million. So unfortunately, 800k defense and no guard is not good enough for a 2 million attacks, like super attack.
Yeah.
But up until that point, very, very strong. So I think he's very useful. Because, like I say, a lot of these events are very short with how powerful the rest of the team can be. Because I do love the fact as well, we kind of didn't mention when we were talking about Rose and Vegito, whilst they did give them these restrictions for like crossover allies and stuff, they didn't do what they did last year and restrict them to super or extreme. So one of the best builds for the Heroes team is to combine the best of those two selections of units. So if you have this guy on the team, he actually has, I think it's 3 links with Rose, which isn't great. And obviously Rose doesn't have big bad bosses, as we've already said. But like, if you have them as a rotation, and then the other rotation, you have both the Vegitos, because they do so much damage, like, you can beat these Dismal Future Red Zone stages before Janemba's guard runs out. And so then he's just sat there chilling with 1 million defense, like, he basically can't die. And he can also hit relatively hard as well. So, yeah, just in general, very, very impressed. Like, he had potential before his awakening anyway, but... yeah, he's actually just... I was genuinely shocked. Like, turn 2, second appearance, I was like, right, let's click the wheel in the bottom corner and see what... oh, 1.1 million. It's like, geez, it's pretty good.
I love that way. I love the way you phrased that reaction.
That is, I am pretty much paraphrasing word for word what I said in my video. I was like, right, let's see what defense he's up. Oh... That does say 1.1 million, right? That's not just me. So yeah, and with guard as well, because it's wild. Second turn. I mean, technically it was turn 3, but yeah, his second turn.
Bro was flabbergasted. That's crazy.
Exactly.
Bro, it's flabbergasted.
That's so funny.
Wild. I mean, yeah, I don't really have much to add for this guy. He is absolutely incredible. He really good defensive unit. That's all I could say. That first hit, like Negan said, is issue, but I've gotten situations where he's like at 800, 900k defense even without the additional on like the second turn, and he builds up pretty quickly. He can work slot one against even fusions and Masu. You just have to kind of be careful. Like, obviously, if he gets instantly super, that's the issue. But even if he just takes like one attack, he's looking pretty solid there. So I'm a fan of this guy a lot. He's pretty good and great easy design. I mean, not easy
Yes,
design,
sir.
awakening design, right?
Yeah, I know what you
Yeah,
meant.
just
It's
think
okay.
about that. Like, we're talking about how, somebody
Right,
like
how
Vegeta.
cracked
Yeah,
he
we're
is
talking about
now,
something about
yeah.
like Vegeta, where it's like, if when he easy A's in like 3 years, like, will he even be good? Like, could they even give him a good easy A? Imagine how ridiculous this guy will be with an easy A.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
crazy. So,
Oh yeah. And I feel like too, with a lot of the heroes units, right? I always kind of feel like that the ones that tend to stay relevant, I guess. Like there are still some, I suppose, that are fine, but I feel like it's a lot of the defensive, like based units that I think kind of stand the test of time a little bit. Maybe that's just more Dokkan in general, to be honest. But I don't know. I always feel like when it comes to the heroes units, I still see people talking about some of the
yeah.
units that have a little bit more like defensive capability under their belt still being good. So I think he should be pretty good for quite a long time.
Yep.
I think that would be awesome. By the way, I know this is a very random thing to mention about him, but I know we don't have the original art for comparison, but they actually fixed this guy's face. Weirdly,
Oh,
like
yeah, the
his
actual
literal
hero's
face.
card looks really weird, doesn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
In his in it, just a bit of fun fact trivia for you. If you look at this guy's original heroes card, his face looks a little goofy. So they updated it for the Dokkan version, which is cool. I think it was the infamous
Yeah.
bad promo artist was cooking on that one, unfortunately. But yeah.
Cooking is a funny word.
yeah, cooking,
he did
you know,
fix the
burning
art.
his meal.
Yeah. I think it was Fenrir that drew this. I saw someone say that, and I was
Oh,
like,
really?
Yeah, well, that would make sense if he did. I don't know. I'm not sure who draws the heroes cards, because I know obviously Fenrir does a lot of the Dokkan artwork, but I mean, whoever drew it, they
so I was like, okay, well, that works.
yeah.
Ah,
They
that's
gave my
good.
boy facelift. Yeah. They gave my boy plastic surgery. I appreciate it. Well, anyway, besides Jinamba obviously getting a very good awakening, which is exciting, Metal Cooler, of course, was the other character who got an awakening this celebration. And after, actually, we talk about Metal Cooler, there's something I want to bring up about these funny SSR awakenings here for some speculation from YouTube. But let's talk about the boy Metal Cooler first. What are we thinking about this guy? I feel like I've heard pretty high praise for this guy up until this point. Minato, what do you think?
Metal Cooler is pretty good. I took him actually into an event today against Fusion Zamasu. No, against the Goku Black and Zamasu Red Zone. But this guy he gets his defense really, really high. Higher than you would probably think.
Yep.
He has the 60% reduction as long as you have the 5 other crossover allies on the team. But with that 60% reduction, if you have his full passive above the 50% HP when he supers, and he could triple super, by the way. He can get over 1 million defense easily with a 60% reduction. And then there's no boss that can kill him. I mean, Vegito himself, he's like reaching 850k defense with 60% reduction. And he tanks everything pretty comfortably. So Metal Cooler is able to actually be really good. I've had turns where he even starts up depending on support, up to 100 to 150k defense with 60% reduction. That's maybe could be the issue against Fusion Zamasu. Maybe he may not tank the AoEs the best, but once he supers, man, and you're above that threshold, he does really well defensively. Even offensively, he does 8 mil into 9 mil into 10 mil super attacks sometimes. Very powerful awakening character. My biggest issue with him though is his link set. I think his link set could have been a bit stronger. But at least he does have cold judgment with some of these other hero villain units. But if I don't know, what other link could he really give him with these hero units that would work? He's weird. He has these Metal Cooler links. Maybe
it's if you look at his best link partners, it's all the free to play Metal Coolers, but he wants to be run with crossover. But he wants to be run with crossover units. It's
Maybe if they
Yeah, that
expanded
was
his
weird.
restriction to like Wicked Bloodline
That would have been
as
so.
well.
That's what I wanted.
That
That was
would
my
be
number
cool.
one like hope for him is that they would make it crossover or
agree.
Wicked Bloodline. Because then imagine running him on a team with like LR Metal Cooler and stuff like that. That'd be super cool. But
That
Right.
would be cool, but they're like, nah, he doesn't work with.
Nah, I'm gonna do my
I don't
own
know.
thing. But
yeah,
literally,
I will say
mean,
it's cool that because, like I say, had a similar thing. I did my video today. I think I recorded it on stream, and somebody who was in the chat that's good at doing calcs on the fly because I am not. It's like, yeah, if you do the triple super turn, he's over 1 million defense and 60% damage reduction. So, just like Minato said, AoEs will not be great for him potentially, but I feel like he's
Right.
one of those units that if you wanted to, like when you're building your hero's team, if you weren't sure who to put in as the last unit, you just throw him in and have him as like a third slot floating unit because he's not
Yeah.
providing any support or anything, but he's going to drop like a couple of decent attack stats and then basically can't die in slot 3.
Right.
So pretty good. And then obviously some of your units who do have those links, like Cold Judgment, which is definitely important to get activated, it's definitely very useful. So he's one of those units that whilst he's not like, I wouldn't say he's one of the best of the heroes units, but he's in that like really solid middle sort of bracket where it's like when you're building a team, you can't really go wrong if you just chuck him on there. So I think he is very good.
Absolutely. I think the one thing that also will kind of stink going forward is, ironically enough, talking about like, getting the same type of unit again is like, with the fact that his links are obviously kind of more, Metal Cooler centric, basically links rather than being more like Heroes links, even though obviously, he rather would have Heroes units, is that we're probably, I assume, not going to be like getting another Heroes Metal Cooler, anytime soon or ever, right? So like, why? I don't know. I would think that they would just want to give him more Heroes related links, but
yeah,
either
the
way,
only thing
though,
I can think of is obviously there's whether they do it as a duo card or they do them as solo cards. There's that golden Metal Cooler and golden Freezer that have like the Dark Dragon Ball.
that would be
like,
cool. Yeah.
thing, but yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, very strange decision.
Look at
What's
you.
up? No, what were you gonna? No. Do you have something else or no?
No, I'm good.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it's
I
just
got you.
weird thinking about how you think about how good Metal Cooler and Janemba are, and they're even though they came out last year, like technically, obviously, their TUR came out now.
Right.
So
yeah.
so like, why are they so much better than Vegeta and Broly? Like it just
Yeah,
it's
that's
just so
true.
weird.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Weird.
It's almost like they
Like-
kept in the mindset of like, well, we don't need to try with Vegeta and Broly because they'll awaken next year, and then it's like, oh, but no, actually they're not. This is just it now, like forever. Like,
They just forgot.
yeah.
Again, literally. give
Unironically, they
Broly-
actually just forgot, and these are the passives
They
that they should just
forgot.
have as an SSR. Yeah, like
Broly should have had 50% reduction. I don't care. Just, why not? Right? Just give flat 50% and he's good.
I don't
So
know. A bit of a silly situation, honestly. But I did want to ask you guys on that front, actually, of the whole thing of, the fact that we now obviously are not going to be getting these SSR variants of Heroes units, right? How do you guys think? I think we may have discussed this a little bit in a previous episode, but obviously, since it's the Heroes episode, we got to discuss it a little bit. How do you guys think that they're going to handle the banners going forward? Because obviously now, with these guys, right, having, we have no more SSRs to awaken at this point. Do you think that they're just going to do 5 new units in the future?
I can imagine that would be so good.
That would be
like
crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
good Rainbow, everyone at less than 1,000 stones, easily.
right.
Potentially. That's the really tricky thing to think about. And I feel like maybe after all this time, I've stopped thinking it will happen and it becomes more of a running joke. But we've obviously talked about in the past, like, how would they do a Heroes LR? They would probably have to change the way the banner works a little bit. And I guess next year is probably the perfect opportunity because, like you said, unless they go back to doing units that don't awaken, which we obviously don't want them to do.
They would.
But I mean, I guess to be fair, it doesn't actually matter whether they do or not. They'd still be in the same position where they have to bring out, let's say it's going to be 7 units again. It's 7 new characters because even if they like 2 of them aren't going to awaken, they're still 7 new characters, because I feel like that was the only defense for why they were doing it that way in the past, was because then they only had to come up with like 7 of 6 new characters, because then the 2 old ones from last year would be on the banner. Whereas now they're all awakened, so the next Heroes banner is going to have 7 new unique characters.
But that works out for us,
which is great for us as the player. Yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like obviously the workload for them or whatever. So I assume that's why they were doing it before, maybe. But
I feel like
now it's going to
be
very interesting.
I feel like Heroes units doesn't take too long for them to make. Besides like the main character, like Vegito probably took them a lot of time because that intro and stuff. But like,
because they do basically just copy everything from the cards, don't they?
Right.
It's not like
or the anime.
It's not like, copied from the anime where it's like high quality anniversary level,
Right. Yeah.
animations. They're more basic animations because they're copied from the game, basically.
Right.
At times they take references from the anime, but it's not. I don't think it's going to be nearly as hard. So even if they had 2 characters, I mean, in this situation, didn't they still give Cooler and Jinamba? I don't think had a new animation. The Gotemon Cooler, doesn't he have like a slightly different one?
They both have
the exact
same. Yep.
No,
Okay.
it's the same. Yeah.
Well,
because I was a little
be-
disappointed by that. Yeah.
I don't think it would be that
Right.
big of a issue for them adding the extra step. But who knows?
Yeah, I just don't know from like a unit or a summon perspective, because like the thing I'm thinking, right, is that like, okay, so technically 5 would almost be better, because then it would be easier to get the 5 units, right? Obviously, because there's less units like in the pool. But at the same time, 7 new characters would be crazy. But at the same time as well, it would obviously, for like us 3, it doesn't really matter, because for Heroes, I mean, Minato is like a dolphin, me and Ningen are like Heroes fanboys, so we had like 1,000,000 stones saved for the celebration, right? So it's like for
You're
us,
not calling Ningen a dolphin? No, Ningen's actually a whale at this point.
yeah, well, that's true. That's
hey,
right. Exactly.
Look at him.
But either way, though, the point of the matter is obviously like we summon a lot. Like we have like all these units rainbow, basically, right? So for us, it's not a big deal. And for people who save for it, it's definitely not a big deal. But for people who are just doing like a couple multis on the banner, or just doing like, 1 or 2, or, maybe, want the Heroes units, but obviously they're not big spenders or something like that. I would think for those people, it might be a little bit like, I don't know if I would say worse, because I don't know if that's the right word. I mean, I guess on the technicality maybe, but then obviously it's harder to get the specific unit that you want because there's more on there. And I guess that is how it is now too, kinda, but obviously that's different because it's 7 new units rather than 5 new units and 2 awakenings, So I don't know. It's really hard. And I don't even know, like, from Akatsuki's perspective, like how they would think about this. Like how would they from a business perspective think about this? Like what would be the better idea for doing it? I don't know. I'm really curious how they're going to do it going forward, because I don't think it would make any sense for them to go back. But that is a fair, I think that was Ningen who was kind of saying before that is a fair point, that maybe now that we don't have any more, kind of like extra weight on the banner, maybe now is the time that they do a Heroes LR, because obviously, like, they have the space for it. Or maybe they do, like, I don't know, maybe they just have, like, the 1 Heroes LR take the space of 2 characters or something, which, like, kind of doesn't sound right in my head, but I don't know, maybe that's how they justify it.
Yeah, it's just so weird to think of, because there's so many things they could do, or so many ways they could do it, but, like, I don't know, it just feels like way too generous on their part, or like too much wishful thinking on our part, for there to be an LR on a guaranteed featured banner, because there will be people out there that will do like 300 stones and just rainbow the LR, like and I don't want them to do something like people will say, yeah, but that's great, like it's cool for us. It's like, it is, but then I don't want them to do like they do the first Heroes LR and then it is on a guaranteed featured banner, so he just kind of sucks. Like, that's what we really don't want to happen, right? Like,
16,000 HP.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. It's one of those things we talked about before, but like, let's say they made the banner it was 5 units, and it's an LR and then 4 featured SSRs, but there's no guaranteed featured. Like, would that be good?
Yikes.
Yeah,
No.
exactly. It's like, yeah, because
In my opinion.
yeah, so I don't know how they would do it, like what the best way to do it would be, because part of the great thing about Heroes is the guaranteed featured like aspect of it. So yeah, I'm not too sure what they could do. And now I don't actually know. I haven't seen the banner stats for this year. I'm assuming they stayed the same, where it was the 70-30 split towards featured. But compared to all the previous years, I pulled so many unfeatured units this year.
Me too.
In comparison to like the last couple. Like, I swear, in last year's summons, I had to use more stones, and I obviously it's only just dawned on me that it's because there's less featured units this time around. But I had to use way more stones last year to rainbow all the units. And I think I pulled like 3 or 4 maybe unfeatured units, and this time around I used way less stones, and I must have pulled like 11 or 12, which I just thought was like, I pulled so many at the start of my summons. That's why I said literally on my like summon stream when the banner came out, I was like, if they changed the rate for unfeatured, because like I pulled so many of them, I was genuinely surprised. So yeah, that's one of the things we talked about before, I think, on a previous one that they could do. Is I don't know if they've ever really done anything exactly like this before. I think there was a banner that was similar, but they could release a Heroes LR and the LR just be unfeatured, and then change the normal
that
SSR
would be
rate
Yikes,
to like 50-50. But then also throw in like the pity coins or something for the LR on that banner. I don't know. This is all the idea of how would they do an LR if it wasn't just guaranteed featured? Because obviously for us, the best thing is just do guaranteed featured and the LR is cracked. But it's the case of would they actually do that? So these are just some kind of ideas for how they might do it instead. I don't know. But
it was like guaranteed featured except for the LR.
But then again,
I
it's
mean,
like,
maybe.
It'd be weird.
That would be weird. I mean, I don't know. I don't think that's necessarily like a terrible idea. But then, well, I don't know if that can. I don't know if someone who knows the math more than I do would have to know. I don't know if the game can do that. I don't know if the code can do that. Like, if it can have a featured unit in the featured pool, but then in the featured guaranteed, it doesn't have the guaranteed appearance.
Well, yeah, because when you look at the banner, you look at banners, they have that separate section. When you look at the pool thing, it says the one
for the
like,
SR.
It has the one for like guaranteed featured is like a separate
that's right, because
list.
it is technically a different pool in the code. Yeah, okay.
So they could just not have the unit in that one, which would be interesting.
It'd be funny.
Yeah,
I mean, like
that would be. It would be kind of funny. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah, I don't know. I think that's not like I suppose it's not a terrible idea, but you know. But I don't know. I'm definitely curious to see how they'll do it in the future. I think that, I mean, obviously, literally all we can do is wait to just kind of see what they're gonna do. It will be interesting next year to see. We'll definitely be in high anticipation. And I think the other thing is, I know this is something that we've discussed, and I know we need to get back on track with the units, but I do kind of wonder, low-key, like, if in the future, maybe it's just something that they can't do, especially with the, like, how they have the year, like, scheduled out. But I feel like a lot of this stuff would be so much less of an issue if they did hero stuff more often.
Yes.
Like, I know you're all for that. If
no,
they
it's
had,
just
like,
so
heroes...
true. It's not. I know what you mean. It's not just because I want it, but yeah, it would fix many of the like. You don't have to just everything all comes out in this one thing, and then it's nothing for a year. It's just like, yeah, it's crazy.
Exactly, and not to mention, right? Like for people who want these units who are like new to the game, right? Like if you start, like in January, like, if we're talking like, obviously JP for us, right? Anniversary is, like end of January, early February type beat. You are literally not going to see those heroes units until, literally like almost a year later, right? Because obviously then it would be in December.
What about what if there was like a hero celebration in April? Because remember one time we had the World Mission collab in April, did we not?
I think that was a one-off thing, but yes, I do think that.
They
Yeah.
could do like April and then November.
Yeah,
I
because
think
wasn't
that's
it? It was like the first time Global got it. It was at that weird
Uh-huh.
time because it was the world mission one. Because
Yeah.
then Global got Heroes for the second time, and it was like 6 months later or something, which was kind of
Yeah.
cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
Like, because April to November, that's about 6 months, right?
Yeah.
Or
About
around that time frame, like 6-7 months. So it's like it'd be pretty evenly spread. And then April is like a filler month, anyways. Where it's
Mhm.
like, well, Dokkan Fest KO or Dokkan Fest Riot, right? So like maybe instead of a part to LR, they put a Heroes banner on there.
That would be cool.
Or
I
they
would
could do
definitely
it
be down
like
for
right
that.
before. They could do it in May, so it's like right before Tanabata and GP and Anniversary and Global, and they're like, "Ooh, baits."
Yeah, that's true. Well, that would suck for us, but that would be good for them.
Yeah,
In
right.
terms of the timing there. But yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like that would remedy so many of the issues, and not to mention, I think that would also make a Heroes LR more plausible, because obviously the other issue with, doing a Heroes LR is the fact that now, with the fact that it is only, like once a year, literally,
Yep.
it's like, okay, so the Heroes LR comes out, right? You have one banner to be able to pull them, right, for an entire year. You can't get them otherwise. And then who knows if by the time the banner comes around next year, if they're even still good. Like, I think that's something else to think about. Like, who's to say that, the LR isn't like irrelevant by the time that it even comes around again for another year.
I just had another idea. What if it's like Heroes LR, but that LR would come out in April, where the Part 2 LR spot would be in April, and then it's like not guaranteed featured, but it's just a different banner, like a smaller hero celebration, right? And during that situation, and then that's where you can get the Heroes LR. Then the hero celebration is still the same as normal. I don't know how much I would like that, but what if
That'd
they
be
did
interesting.
that? So it's like, okay, they don't have to worry about making that Heroes banner specifically GSSR, but then the main Heroes banner that comes out later will be GFSR with the new units, while as the existing Heroes banner, it'll be with the units it'll basically be like how the banner was back in November, but with the new
Mhm.
LR. So it's like you can get the new LR there.
Gotcha. And then so also, I guess that, unless this is what you're saying and I'm just misinterpreting, that would also then mean obviously the LR would then be in the unfeatured pool for Heroes when it would come back,
Yeah,
right?
and then they
Yeah.
put it in the unfeatured pool. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, you get it unfeatured there, but then there's the featured banner. It's like, yeah, I think that would be interesting. And then they bring back some of the Heroes events and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
And then, not to mention, right, to kind of wrap this up, I think then that would be the perfect way too, that they could have the LR be obtainable through one of the methods that you can buy the Heroes units, right? Whether that be the Hero Stone, which I know that one costs money, so that's a little bit like, I guess. But they could bring it back with the blue coins, right?
There's like the packs, right? Like during anniversary, isn't there like the purple and like packs where it's like, what if you could use all 3 of the gray stones?
Yeah,
an
on
LR
the
in a pack,
LR. That's a
right?
good idea. Yeah, literally like something like that, right? Then you could obtain it, right? But obviously you don't necessarily have to summon it as well. You can, but yeah, that would be a different idea.
When you want him when he first releases, you would have to summon. But then
Right.
later in November, it's like, okay, I could use my 3 gray stones from this celebration and then purchase the unit there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hire us,
Or
Bandai.
make it like 2, because I think all 3, because then like those purple stone packs, it's like if you use all of them to get an LR, they all come with I think 2 TURs as well.
Well, yeah, I
something
mean,
like
they
that.
would come with the units, right?
Yeah, I think it would come
I
with
was going to say you
units
could
for
use
sure,
like
yeah.
2 to get the LR, because then if you did get all 3, you then also still have 1 you could get a random TUR as well. So then in
Right.
total for the 3 stones, you're getting like the LR and 1 of the TURs. I think that would be pretty cool.
And then,
Yeah.
yeah, because it makes sense. Because I mean, regardless, I mean, maybe even they can make it cost 1 anyways, because you can only buy 1 character with the stone. Like you can't buy 3 characters, 3 the same
Right.
characters.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
is annoying.
Unfortunately, I found that out the hard way. I was gonna Rainbow Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta. I was so excited, and then my friend was like, "How do we tell him?"
Yeah, the only unit I actually needed dupes for is the Black Mouse Saiyan, and so I could buy 1, and that's it. He's at 90%, and I have 2 white stones, and I don't. All the other units are rainbow, so I'm still not actually sure what I'm going to do with those 2 stones, because I don't actually need any of the other units. So,
Whoopsie. Listen, here's the optimal, okay? I know this was the one thing I did with Rose. You can, if you want an SSR as your My Data unit, cop your favorite SSR art and put that as your My Data character
my,
for like the preview, yeah.
I have the SSR for the Limit Breaker Vegito as my
Yeah, dude,
I
I
have the
literally, because
SSR for Rosé,
I pulled like 8 rosés or something, and I literally did that. I kept an
Yep.
SSR just to use for my profile picture thing. Because
Yep.
whilst I
usually
do,
kept
I wouldn't say
SSR.
I like the SSR art more than the TUR art, like in general, but for that slot, like where the way it's
Right.
framed and everything
Right,
on the
it's a
profile
flex,
picture, I think
yeah.
the SSR art actually does look better.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. I don't think in terms of the card art it looks better, but just the way it looks on your profile. I think it looks really good having the SSR. So I think I pulled like 8 copies. So I opened his paths and then used all but one of them as Kai's. And then, now he has the
can't believe
SSR art in the
You're gonna
profile
cry when we get Heroes Burst mode. Oh my goodness.
A chain battle, you mean? Chain
Blue
battle, yeah.
coins? You're selling them for blue coins.
Yeah, what about the blue coins? Okay, Linga, here's the thing, bro. You're not thinking
billion Kais.
You're not thinking big brain, okay? You're not thinking about this, long term, okay? What if sporadically, randomly, they decide to bring back the type banners? And again, the only way you can get the type support units is through the blue coins. Those are extra blue coins you could have used on the type support units, nigga. You gotta
already has them.
But I was gonna say I don't use them for anything, so I don't know how many I actually have.
Funny though.
This looks so good.
It does look so good. It looks gas.
I love Vegito, dude.
But anyway, that was a long side tangent, but that was a good discussion nonetheless.
It was so random. Just
It was.
Talk about these units.
It's all right. So, this will be a quick one. I actually really do not know much about this unit, so I'll let one of y'all take it away. The free-to-play Toa, the scientist Toa.
She looks solid, but I haven't used her yet. Ningen made a video and he was like, "She's pretty good."
Yeah.
So you know what, Ningen?
I actually was quite impressed. She's pretty solid overall. Like for a free to play unit, especially considering that she doesn't have an easy A, she'll get her easy A next year. She's pretty good. There's nothing like absolutely insane about her or anything. There's nothing in particular that I would say like, oh, she's really good because she does this thing specifically. But she's just kind of like generally good at most things, like in terms of for a free to play unit, right? Obviously there's that caveat at the end, right? For a free to play unit, because she doesn't raise defense on super with her super attack effect, but like all of the summonable unit, well, most of the summonable units, she does get a nice chunk of attack and defense on super, so her stats aren't terrible. She has a built-in medium chance to dodge, which is obviously only 30%, but I assume once she easy A's, that'll go up to high chance. And then she gives support as long as there's extreme class allies on the team, so that means she does have a bit of usability outside of the heroes team. And then she gets a bunch of buffs to herself, gives some extra stats, and changes orbs if all allies are heroes allies. So obviously she's slightly better on a heroes team. The fact that she creates orbs means she has that kind of good synergy with Fu, because she creates STR orbs as well. And I've had some good experience. Like I took her into Red Zone Fusion Zamasu on one of the team builds, and mine is built for full dodge. She has the 30% dodge in her passive, and I had turns where there was other support units on the rotation as well. I think it was one of the turns where she was linked up with Demon Goddess Toa, because they have the exact same link set. And obviously Demon Goddess Toa gives a decent amount of support as well. But she tanked like Zamasu's normal attacks for double digits or dodged, which, for a free-to-play unit, like, I'll take that.
That's good.
So,
yeah,
considering some of the quality of some of the free-to-play units that we've seen recently, I would say that, she's, for a free-to-play unit, I think she's very good.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
I like her skeleton. And plus, her orb changing. She creates STR orbs. That can help well.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Really funny. Yeah.
Exactly. That's really good to say, yeah.
And I like that it's specifically AGL to STR, I think, because you could set those up a lot easier too.
I would think as well that like they probably did that with that in mind, right?
Although,
like they probably designed her like that on purpose to work with you.
The weird thing is, though, is the only thing I did find very odd is that obviously, I know someone said in the chat when I mentioned this at the time that it's because apparently Few doesn't know that Toa is his mum, but they have
Oh.
one. They share one link. So like she helps create orbs, which can be really useful for
Really?
him. But they share one link, so they're not even
Well,
actually
what?
good to run together, which is unfortunate.
That's a shaft. They could have been a bond, a parent and child.
Yeah, they're not on it.
True.
They're not on it because they don't have that bond apparently. So there you go.
Well, I mean,
I
okay.
forget sometimes that Toa is his mom.
To be, because so the weird thing about
because it's like
basically Toa created Mira, and then Mira is the father, and Toa is the mother, and then Fu is the child, which is I don't even want to think about how that works. To be honest with you, but
let's play some banjos here. Okay, I'm
yeah, for real, bro. Toa's one freaky individual, I suppose, but yeah, I know for a fact that what do you call it in the like that Few doesn't. I think I swear at some point he figures it out, but I know by that point I don't think that he knows.
maybe he just doesn't care. He's like, okay.
Oh no, he definitely doesn't care. Have you seen that cheeky dude, bro? He definitely does not care.
Bro does not care.
No, he does not. But yeah, so either way though, see that's an interesting thing because that also like I guess that could kind of devolve into like a conversation about like Dokkan like category naming conventions because it's like how dedicated are they to the name? Like does bond of parent and child just mean like okay, you know, this is the child of this, you know, these two individuals, or does that mean like okay, you know, they have to have like a special bond as like, you know,
yeah, they have to have the bond, right? Because isn't it like
Trunks before like he dies is on bond of parent and child,
Yeah.
even though he should be because he has a bond with future Bulma, his mother, but it's probably
Yeah,
because she
that's
doesn't have a
true.
card in game.
Yep.
But that's still really stupid. You know?
yeah.
Yeah, because Vegeta from like anything from Vegeta before like the Cell games doesn't have it. So it's
Yeah.
I never really thought about that. Wait, we don't have
We
a
do not
future
have a future
Bulma.
Bulma card.
Yep.
We don't. Like, we don't even have an adult.
It's not really that. That's the thing is, it's kind of not really that strange because it's like, yeah, we don't have an adult.
I
Bulma
guess so,
either.
yeah.
We have like the couple of youth Bulmas, but it's because obviously she's not a fighter character, even
Right,
with like
yeah.
you know firearms or whatever. Once she
That's
becomes
true.
an adult, so yeah, she doesn't really have a card in the game, and that
I
seems
guess
to be
that's
the
true.
way it works, right? Is the character has to have a card, otherwise they don't get it because you would assume like the the LR Bulma that we've got, the youth Bulma, she doesn't have it either, but you know, we see in the show that she's obviously got like a good relationship with her dad, the guy that obviously
Right.
technically owns Capsule Corp at that point, but she's not on it because he's not in the game. So that seems to be the way it works, right? That like the character that they have the bond with has to have a card in the game as well, which is weird, but yeah, because yeah, otherwise you'd think every future Trunks would have it regardless of whether
Right.
it applies to Vegeta or not, right? So
Exactly. And it's
Interesting.
funny because even like even with present Bulma, there's a card of Trunks driving with Bulma.
yeah,
Yeah, that is so strange.
Is that card on Bond of Parent and Child? Actually,
I don't
it'd
know.
be really
check
funny
real
if that
quick,
one
check
isn't
real quick.
actually.
it'd be really funny if he's not on Bond of Parent and Child because it's just Trunks teen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is
I'm
just
gonna
Trunks
check that
scene,
right
yeah.
now, and we should probably get ready to start talking about
That-
the next scene after
Yeah,
this.
I was gonna
that
say
is really
we
funny.
are an hour and
We
a half
are.
into the episode. And
He
we talked
is on
about
the
8 units.
He's on the
Gosh.
team.
Oh my
That
gosh,
doesn't make sense.
man!
Whatever.
This
man.
game is so goofy, bro. Oh man! All right, well,
Trunks
with that
only
being
at this
said-
moment cares about Bulma, apparently.
that is funny. I'm not gonna lie.
All
All right. Well, with all that in consideration, let's talk about the easy A's now, since we've talked long enough about the new units for sure. When it comes to the easy A's, obviously the star of this one was, of course, the boy Super Saiyan 4 Vegito. Obviously, of course, that being because of the fact that he, is a fantastic linking. But I mean, not just that. Obviously, people really like the unit. But he is a fantastic linking buddy with the brand new Vegito. So obviously, a lot of people were really excited to use him because of that. But how have you guys been feeling about this guy? Ningen, what do you think?
Yeah, he's really good. I think he's probably the best of the Easy A's. But I don't think he necessarily clears because of how good I think the second best one is. I think his biggest thing is that you can throw him on the team and he's going to be supporting. He's got good defense after super and can counter super attacks. So even if you don't have the limit breaker for Geo, he's still really good. He works really well with other Super Saiyan 4s as well. So he's just really solid. And then of course, if you do have limit breaker for Geo, then you just put these two guys next to each other and like. The fact that he gives 60% support to the crossover Super Saiyan 4 characters, or, well, yeah, it's Super Saiyan 4 specifically, Giant 8 Power, 60%, like, it's one of the reasons why Limit Breaker Vegito can look as good as he does. And then this guy, it's almost like people don't realize quite how good he is as well, because he's just sat there, you know, if you're running them as a rotation, you're putting Limit Breaker Vegito in slot 1, he's doing his, like, you know, 314 million attack stats, and often the enemy is just getting killed. But then if the enemy is still alive, then in comes our boy physical Super Saiyan 4 Vegito, and he's doing like 10.5 million or something. And then his defense is quite solid with the crossover or Giant 8 Power allies. He also has damage reduction, which I think a lot of people forget. Like, I think post super he's at like 5 to 600k, something like that. But yeah, with 35% damage reduction. And what that means is, which if you have to put it in perspective, it's like only super attacks could do damage to him post super, but then he has a coin flip chance to take 0 damage from a super attack. So he's super good.
And then you get a dodge potential too. Like just picking off from Ningen, he's absolutely incredible. I really do like him a bit. And even like against AoE attacks, the good thing about the AoE attacks in this guy right now is most of the AoE attacks in the game are physical. Or no, not physical. Int anyway. So he's type advantage, right? So he like naturally has an ability like that. The only time where this guy is taking damage from normals for me is against the Fusion Zamasu physical phase after he super attacks. I've had this Vegito with just one super. He took about 100 plus K from normals. Which, you know, that Zamasu, his normals hit very hard after he super attacks, right? Nearing 1 million normals. So it kind of makes sense that 35% reduction in like 500, 600K is not enough there. Yeah, he's absolutely just incredible. I really do like him quite a bit. I guess the only thing I kind of like wish is that his reduction, like you could, I wish you could mix and match for the reduction for like, you know, the Giant 8 Power team, and you could like throw like a crossover unit or two in there, because it's basically like you could have like 5 or let's say you have 6 Giant 8 Power units, and then like you put Into on the team. That's not going to work out, and then he'll only have 30% reduction, which I think maybe they could have been a little more flexible, since 35% isn't that like high.
I think,
but it still works out.
I think the good thing about that is that obviously, again, like even if you had like 5 crossover allies on the team build, and then you've brought Sunwing, even not like neither crossover or Giant Ape or whatever, he's getting like 25%. But like, it kind of still puts him in that spot where he's not taking much damage from normals, and then it's like the AoE, the super attack is really the only thing that can kill him, and then he has a 50% chance that it just doesn't. So, and
it's just the amount of power he provides to the new Vegito is insane, because he shares 6 things. And 60% support is just nasty.
The difference between Vegito, like Limit Breaker Vegito, next to this guy and not next to this guy is very noticeable. Like, he's actually just so good.
Yeah, he is pretty cracked.
So,
all right, Vegito. I'm glad that he ended up being good, because then I also feel like he's probably one of the most hype heroes units of like the heroes units history, basically, if not the most hype up until this point. I
think you could fit him in with like the really good Dokkan Fest exclusive EZA characters. He's basically like a Dokkan Fest, so you know it makes sense that he fits in with them too, in terms of how good he is.
Yeah, I agree. Speaking of our other big head honchos of the year, for the year that these guys came out, Super Saiyan 4 Broly. Your smile tells all, my friend. Please, what do you think about this guy, Minato?
I would say if you like offensive characters, he can be good when he's fully built up and you have him on that grade A power team. He cooks pretty nicely. I mean, he could do like I had Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta on rotation, and this guy linked with the Int one. And he did hit 15 mil, and I thought, oh, that's
That's
pretty
good.
hard hitting, right? But I feel like maybe he's a bit too restricted and his defense is not high enough. Like he could do the good damage, but it's like you can't run him on rotation with Limit Breaker, Super Saiyan 4 Broly, unfortunately. So he's gonna miss out on a lot of those links. He kind of suffers on the crossover team because his full passive is only with a full Giant power rotation. So while he could still work on a crossover team, I feel like he's not nearly as strong because it's like at least on the Giant A power team, you get the 2 guaranteed supers, and then that helps you get the hidden potential system a lot more. Whereas I feel like on crossover, it's much more often you get his super, then he normals, and then he doesn't get the additional potentially, right? Stats start of turn are like I see him max out like at 300k, so like AoEs hurt him, and he's tech, so that hurts against some of these bosses. And obviously if he gets supered at all, he just straight up dies. So he's kind of like a risky unit that you can only really use in very certain stages. But in the stages he does work in, he can do a lot of damage. So I wouldn't say he's bad for what his purpose is, which is mainly damage, but maybe he could have been, I don't know, maybe they could have given Belt and Crit at least too, like push just a little more over the edge. I feel like he's just like not there like 100%, right? But he's better than some of the other ECAs, I would still say, and he's definitely better than the Int one.
Yeah, I think, weirdly enough, I almost feel like I guess this is kind of like obvious, but just the fact that the Int one is not good either, I feel like holds this guy back as well, because obviously, like we were just talking about with, Vegito, the fact that Vegito's EZA is so cracked, and obviously, he helps out the new Vegito so much. The fact that, new Broly does not help out this Broly, it's weird because it's like the opposite, right? It's like the old Vegito helps the new Vegito, but the new Broly doesn't help the old Broly.
It's like one of them needed to be a slot 1 unit, and then like neither of them are, which is a shame.
Exactly.
But
because that's in Broly 50% reduction. Why not?
But yeah, I think this guy is underrated because he definitely is better than the Int one. And yeah, it's like AoEs will expose him because of him getting most of his defense on super. But like if you're building the sort of, because it is a fun version of the team to run, right? Even though it's slightly less flexible because there's a bunch of the other units you can't use. But obviously we all love the full Super Saiyan 4 build. It's a team people have been making ever since we were able to have enough Super Saiyan 4s.
Right.
As soon as the first couple of Heroes units came out and stuff like that. So if you want to run the full like Super Saiyan 4 build, which can win in events, like as long as it's an event with no AoEs, like you can throw him on the team as a floating unit, and like there are turns where he'll do multiple attack stats, really big numbers, and that's cool, right? Like he's just kind of there to be a unit that throws out a load of damage, and he can be good at that. And yeah, he won't take supers, but like he's definitely not as bad as I think I've seen some people say he is. But he definitely isn't like, he's not like super great or anything, but he, I've seen screenshots of him doing like multiple 13 million attack stats and stuff just as a like slot 3 floating unit, which is pretty cool. It's just, he's not going to be doing anything insane in terms of defense. And it's kind of a shame, like Minato said, right? Because like both the Super Saiyan 4 Brolys are the really good link partners for Rose, but obviously this Broly wants giant 8 power like rotation, so it's a little bit disappointing. But I mean, he can be good. He's not a complete lost cause. Like he's definitely better, I would say, than it's unfair, I guess, to compare them because he's a TUR with an EZA, but he's better than the Int Broly and he's better than Vegeta. So at least there's that.
Listen.
I wouldn't say it's unfair because like some of the EZAs this year are better than some of the Awakenings too, or like some the new units. I mean, I said that the wrong way. Obviously, some of the new units are just better than
true. Some of the EZAs really are great, but
So like and I would say I forgot what I was gonna say. It's like even like the grade 8 power team, it's like good, but it's not good if you know what I mean, right? It's like you could get away with it, but My hope for the Grade A Power Team is that, like, at least maybe next year we get like a Dokkan Fest Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta. I think we could use a new one of
That would
those.
be cool.
Then
Yeah.
have Int Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta EZA. And I think that really helps
Yeah.
round the team out. And then
Yep.
that can make
Mm,
Broly technically better by default because the team
that's a good
members
idea.
drop, right? But yeah, again, because at this point, like, you guys may not think about it, but most of the every harder fights in the game since 7th anniversary, like, they all had AoEs.
Yeah.
AJO Broly had AoE attacks. Even Cell Max in his second phase, he technically has AoEs, which is really funny to me.
True.
We got Sin, who has AoEs, Omega has AoEs, Fusions and Monster has AoEs. All of these most difficult bosses, they're the hardest fights because of AoEs. I don't think
Yeah,
that's going to go
that's true.
away.
Yeah.
So
No, probably
you know,
not.
like Broly, who gets everything on super attack, suffers in the most difficult stages, which
Yeah.
is something I think we should really start considering when we're judging these units. Or if they don't have like the defensive tech, like this Broly would have been a perfect unit who's like maybe like 60% reduction before he attacks, right? You know, like Pan, where it's like even after he super attacks, he'll be fighting its normals, but the damage reduction would help him against these AoEs. Oh, and that's all
Oh, okay.
I'm saying.
I was like, yeah. Go on.
No, that was it. That was it.
I got you. Yeah, that definitely, I agree with you. It would be cool. I mean, Dokkan like weirdly loves Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta as well, so I think that could definitely happen as well with getting a new one, like a
He's
solo
like-
one of them.
He's like in most anniversary.
Yeah, it's so weird. I don't know. They just they like him for like as a side character. I don't know.
It'd be
It's a
interesting
very
because I
interesting
know
thing.
in GT, we don't want to go off on too much of a tangent here, but like
Yeah.
I know in GT he doesn't really do anything in the fight where he shows up and becomes a Super Saiyan 4, but it'd be interesting to get like a transforming Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta for like Saiyan Day or something maybe, and then
Yeah.
it'd be cool because like the Super Saiyan 4s, there's outside of heroes, there's not enough variation in terms of like the characters that are actually available because it's like you've got
Right.
Goku, Vegeta, full power Goku, and Gogeta, and that's it. Like, and if we want more Super Saiyan 4s that aren't heroes characters, it's just new versions of them. And I think
Right.
Vegeta is the oldest one without like a new solo version, right? So I think that would
Yeah.
be pretty cool. And then yeah, throw the Int Gogeta EZA in that same celebration, and then there you go.
I never really thought about that before, I guess, that, they're kind of almost limited by the, like, just the anime, weirdly enough. But,
Yeah, because it's like
that
you
is
can't really
definitely
have
true.
like you can't have like a Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta that transforms into Super Saiyan 4 like you could with Goku, because it's obviously not. I mean, that would actually be a really cool what if unit,
That
like
would be
Super Saiyan 3
really
GT Goku that
Well, he does,
Vegeta
though.
that transforms into Super Saiyan 4. That'd be awesome.
That would be cool.
They could always, like, there's instances of Vegito taking animations from a Gohan character or something like that. They
That's
could
true.
always have Vegeta just have that similar animation
I could definitely do that, yeah.
easily, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think we've seen a Super Saiyan 3 into Super Saiyan 4 transformation in this series though. Like, so that would be kind of funny, but yeah.
No, I don't think so. I mean, listen, bro, for Minato's whole conversation about the Grade A Power Team, all I'm saying is when we eventually get Super Saiyan 3 Rose in, or a Super Saiyan 4 Rose rather in Heroes, then we'll be cooking, baby.
Imagine next
Oh,
year.
man.
They
That
know.
would be wild, dude. They need to do it in Heroes first before they give them a unit. But anyway,
Exactly.
moving on from our funny Super Saiyan 4s. Speaking of some units of all time, we have the Boy Namora.
Can we skip him? Like, he sucks.
So I literally haven't even used them yet. I've still, because we were
neither.
talking before the podcast, I'm still behind, like, because so much stuff came out. I haven't recorded videos on all of the units yet, still, and he's one of the ones I just haven't bothered doing yet because he sucks. And I feel
No one
like
cares
that is
about
similar because I'm sure someone
Yeah.
said to me on my stream earlier this morning, somebody asked me if I'd done a video on him because they haven't seen anyone else do one. So, so that kind of tells you all you
That's
need to know.
funny.
Yeah, I mean,
That's pretty funny.
yeah, he's like a super battered unit, but it's like weird. Everyone knows he sucks. Like it's not even worth talking about him. He's easily, I
Yeah.
think
We talked about it last week when we talked about our
Broly?
predictions for these 8 units, and he's the one of the ones that we just said, like, they really needed to put a lot of work into him and not just up-tune all of his numbers, otherwise he'd just be useless, and that's pretty much all they did. So
Yeah. Sure, one SBR stage he could look good, but he sucks everywhere else, so I think we should just move on.
Yep.
Yeah, I think he's a fat steep.
Especially because the next one is actually good. So like...
Yeah.
Yes, Toa. Let's talk about Toa. We've talked about her a little bit throughout this episode, kind of relation to other units, but I actually quite like this unit a lot. Obviously, she was already kind of a really good support unit, and I think they've only just basically made her better at what she does. So, Ningen, how you feeling about Toa?
She is the GOAT. She's so good. So there's a little bit of like, I guess, luck kind of playing around the situation because she has built-in dodge, but only if you're above a certain amount of HP at the start of the turn. So if you don't have that, then it could be a little bit more scary. But having the dodge, being a support unit, I've seen her, funnily enough, like I don't know why. Like, her stats are good in her passive and stuff when you read it, but I was just surprised, I suppose, because she's a support unit, to see her get numbers that are that high. But I've had rotations with her where, like, start of turn, she's at, like, nearly 500k defense, which, for a support unit that has built-in dodge, like, that's really good. So I've had her, like, tanking reasonably well or just dodging. And then, of course, that whole thing with the heal and giving the massive buff, like, is a ridiculous amount of support because she already gives 40% support, and then if you heal you also get like another 50. So the rotations that she can come into sometimes and get that heal. The one thing I really want to try her out on, because I've only really used her on the crossover team, is I want to see how well she would do on Zamasu's team, because she'll only be under a double 150 lead, but like you think about that turn where she gets that heal passive proc, and then everybody on the rotation is getting 90% support, and you're running like Tech LR Zamasu next to Int LR Rose or something, like both of them getting 90% support on that rotation. Like, that'd be disgusting.
Yeah, that is wild.
The only problem in that scenario is because of the double 150 leads, then it becomes a case of like, well, if she doesn't dodge, how much damage is she taking? And the unfortunate interaction between those two mechanics is if you start the turn below 50%, she gives you the heal, but then because you were below 50% at the start of the turn, she doesn't get that dodge. So then obviously she could be a little bit more of a liability on that turn. But yeah, I mean, the best build for her obviously is full dodge because she's there for the support. So yeah, in the times that I've used her so far, I thought that she's very impressive. And because we already talked about that free-to-play Toa, who I think is actually quite decent, they have the exact link set. So if you have them together, she's getting all of her links activated as well. So she even does, I can't remember the number off the top of my head, it's nothing crazy, but she even does like a reasonably good attack stat. I'm sure it's like 7 point something, which again, for a support unit that's there to buff everybody else, that's a pretty good performance, I think.
Yeah,
I would agree.
I don't have much else to say beyond that. She's just a good floating dodge support unit. If you get unlucky early on, it could be a little bit of an issue if she like tanks that normal and doesn't dodge the first normal, and it's like, ooh. But her stats build up quite quickly, I would say, right? She's not like always tanking normals, but she's has a lot of utility that she's providing. I am a big fan of her.
You love to see it. Yeah, I think she's very, very solid for sure. Speaking of our funny conversation about Toa from before, Mira! How you boys feeling about Mira? I feel like this is a unit I have seen also like not many people talk about. I know, Ninga, didn't you mention earlier that you did a showcase on this guy?
Nope.
I thought you did.
No, I was about to say, this is the guy, it's him and Dabura. I like, not only have I not done the videos, I literally haven't even used it. I haven't used him since I EZA'd him, so.
Gotcha.
It's just been so much.
Try Mira later today.
Okay.
Probably for a video for tomorrow. But I think that he has potential in Omega. I just don't know. One reason is because I think an issue with him is that he doesn't link well with the other heroes units, and he has like Android Assault and stuff like that. It's like he has some of these defensive links, but you're not going to be able to get those defensive links to make him look really strong on the heroes team. and it's the heroes team where he gets the guaranteed double super attack, right? So I just don't know how much like his defense is going to be, because he's starting off with just 100%. After he attacks, he does get a multiplicative 50% buff, but is he gonna be good against Omega? I think he might be, because he has like that debuff for the first for the first phase. Greatly stacking defense could be pretty strong. And if he's getting like, if he like enters the final phase and he has like 12 stacks of like, or even 15 stacks of like 50% defense stacks, like at that point he probably gets really high in that fight. But we'll need to see how things go. And I feel like a good amount of the heroes team actually feels like they're kind of made for shorter content, to be honest, like Vegito, stuff like that. So we'll see. I'm excited to try him out, though. I think he could be interesting, but I don't think he's going to be anything crazy, because he's, again, just purely based off that defense. And he might be akin to like Ink Goku Black, maybe, except he does guarantee double super. So who knows? I can't really say for sure until I use him. But I'm just like,
you. Yeah, I know he was definitely one who was like probably not on the not on the radar of many people to use right away, considering the other units that we got in the celebration. But well, I guess we'll have to see later on what we really think about him. But yeah, at least I guess suppose he doesn't look too bad, which is good. All right. Speaking of bad, though, we're talking about villains, baby. We got the boy Demigod. You like that transition?
I thought you were going to say talking about bad because he's kind of bad, which
he is bad. I
was so disappointed. When we talked about our predictions and stuff last week, I really wanted him to be good because he's on Zamasu's 200% leader skill. He's a support unit. Like, there's little bits of his passive that are good, like the fact that he's providing 3 key and I think it's like 40% defense, which is pretty nice. But other than that, he's just not very good. Like, even against, I took him up against Fusion Zamasu because obviously the first phase is in, and he's still taking like almost 100k from normal attacks, which is not great when you've got type advantage. That's from the AOE, yeah, for sure. I think post super, it's still like 30-ish or something. I think 20 something to sort. Well, maybe I am thinking about the physical phase, but when you get into the physical phase, even type neutral, I know Zamasu is one of the hardest hitting bosses, especially after he supers, but like he just can't even tank normals against him. And so then when you go into some of the other Dismal Future Red Zone where the bosses are type neutral, he's just not good enough, unfortunately, which is a huge shame. Because he is one of the few cards that's not like massively restricted. Like when I read his passive, without obviously, because again, I've said many times, I'm not somebody that is good at doing calcs, or I don't ever do them anyway, but I can't do them like in my head from reading a passive. And when I read his passive, I was like, okay, he's got some cool looking stuff here. Like he has that thing where he has, because he had it before, extra attack per crossover, which means if you want to use him on a non-crossover team, it's not really the end of the world because attack isn't necessarily important for a support unit. But then they added in the extra defense, but the defense, it only has to be extreme ally. So it's like, oh, this is perfect for running him on Zamasu's team. So like I read his passive and thought, like, I got kind of excited that he would be as good as I was hoping he would be. But in the small amount of like field testing that I've done with him, I've been generally unimpressed, which is a shame, I think.
Yeah, I haven't really been impressed with him either, and I was excited. Honestly, that defense 10% should be dodge 10%. Why not?
Yeah.
Or like, I don't know, like 8% dodge or something.
So I don't like, obviously, after going through that, 6 months long Heroes versus Sin ordeals, I'm not a fan of dodge or die units anymore. But like, if his defense and that is going to be this bad, just give him a bunch of built-in dodge. Yeah.
Like, it's at least like better because like a lot of those heroes units were like 50% dodge or die, but like 70% is pretty good for floating like support unit. I would be fine with that because it's like, okay, at least he has a pretty good chance at living, even if his base defense is a little lower, or just make it 10% defense and 10% dodge. Why not? Who cares?
Yeah.
I mean,
and he's really another character too who will we will literally never get another one.
We're never getting another one. I feel like he's like the support is like the best thing about him. Maybe the debuff if you're running like the Vegito like blue stage on the what's it called? The STR Vegeta blue stage.
Yeah, except he's STR, so that's a terrible idea.
I mean, no, because he's giving the 30% debuff, and a lot of the team does debuff.
Yeah,
so
true. Turn one
he'll
would be
be
kind of scary
pretty
if he
good.
was on turn one, but
yeah. But otherwise, the passive debuffs are pretty good.
yeah,
They're really, really powerful in that fight.
Mm.
So I think he could be good there. So at least he has like a use there, kind of. But it's like no defensive tech. Again, it's like you look at all the characters that bad are the characters that don't have defensive tech.
yeah.
And all the good
Yeah.
characters are the ones with defensive tech. It's almost like defense is really strong, right? You know?
That's crazy,
Yeah.
isn't it? It's almost like when
yeah.
we got a whole series of events that are the new hardest events in the game that can hit you for like normal attacks for 500k on the first turn. It's almost like having really good defense is really important.
Yeah, for real.
Right? Especially for a support unit.
Yeah, it's ironic. Didn't I just say earlier that I was like, wow, it's almost like the best like aging heroes units are the characters who have defensive capabilities.
Crazy.
Yeah, like Hearts is pretty good right now.
Yeah, Hearts is cooking. I mean, it's nice too that like, obviously with Rose and whatnot, we have like even better villain options too, for the heroes team. So that is pretty cool, I will say. But yeah, Demigra, he is certainly a individual of all time.
I feel like he's not like bad, but
He's not bad for sure.
He's just
Yeah.
disappointing, really.
Yeah, he is. But talking about a unit that is certainly not disappointing, I would say.
Oh, yes.
Oh man, this boy cooking, baby. The boy Dark Mask King. What a unit! What a man,
Dude.
Oh man.
Dude, let me glaze.
Okay,
Let me glaze the boy.
You have the mask.
So I almost unironically, if it wasn't for the fact that he is so good in every way and buffs the living hell out of Vegito, Limit Breaker Vegito, I would almost be tempted to say this guy was the best of the Easy A's over Super Saiyan 4 Vegito, because he is unbelievably good. Literally, to the point where I used him, I was like, I can't believe he's this good. I did on the stream after the day when we first pulled all the units, we'd link leveled them up, done all that stuff. I did a stream obviously to celebrate getting the new units, to get revenge on Sin after all these months of not being able to do the no item run with the old team. And not only did we do Sin, I took the Heroes team into Fusion Zamasu and recorded a video which actually will be going up after the podcast.
Nice.
And this guy, I don't want to say he was the MVP because, it's going to be Limit Breaker for Geo, of course. But like, otherwise, this guy was the MVP. Like, you put this guy in slot 1, and even against like physical Fusion Zamasu, he survives the super attack. He does take a lot of damage, especially if it's the first attack of the turn. But he survives the super attack. Then he does a super attack of his own, crits, and you're on full health, like immediately. It's actually ridiculous. The healing that he has is so powerful, like it should not be underrated at all. I've had turns where he hasn't crit, but then he's like double supered. And I've gone from like 10% HP to full health. I was worried that they would hold back with his Easy A. We talked about it again last week. Like healing units have been kind of hit or miss with these upgrades, like Easy A's and Awakenings and stuff. Because one of the things I was quite surprised, they actually did give him some offensive tech as well, because he heals based on the damage that he does. So he does build up some attack as well, which I think was added with the Easy A, which to be honest, I wasn't really expecting. I kind of thought they would maybe double down on his defensive capability a little bit, and then that would be it. But yeah, like, because he has guard, which we all know, like even from the days of good old boy Tekul Gohan, like is guard meme. He's a meme. Guard is such a powerful mechanic that like, yeah, he takes that first hit of the turn. Maybe he takes a bit of damage, gets the defensive buff. Then he's taking double digits from most normal attacks. And then even if he is taking some damage, like if he eats a super in slot 1, then he attacks and he just heals you back to full. And his restriction to have guard is literally just have a heroes unit on rotation with him, which, I mean, like, I feel like when you're building, this is the way I build my heroes team for the most part. If I'm not doing a specific event that's going to have a specific gimmick or something. But I genuinely feel like if you want to build the best heroes team that you can build at the moment, you put Limit Breaker Vegio on the team, then you put Super Saiyan 4 Vegio on the team, and then you put Dark Mask King on the team. Like, for me, maybe you put Rose because I like using Rose, but Dark Mask King, he's just on the team. Like, he's just so good. I can't. Oh, what's Minato done? He's done something.
That was right. It's the end. He just confirmed it.
No way.
I thought it was something important then.
No
but yeah,
way.
so he is absolutely insane.
Bro had a light from Death Note moment, bro. When he was facing in front of Al, he was facing in front of Nier, bro.
Victory.
He's like, oh, I win!
I win.
Oh, that's so funny.
Okay,
Oh my gosh. Anyhow, yeah, besides that was pretty funny, I'm not gonna lie. Besides that, yeah, he is definitely very good. I think his healing is honestly like it's just so crazy to me that they even let him heal that much. Honestly.
Yep. It is. I have him with additionals. I need to change that to crit. I have like 12 additionals, 8 crit. I think I'm gonna change that to crit. I have like about what 15-ish dodge, 17 dodge or something on him, which I think is good. Not too much.
It's
dodge,
actually,
like 30 dodge. But
I think with the amount that I've seen him take from like even physical Zamasu, mine, I didn't change his build much from when he first came out, because obviously when he first came out, even before he had his awakening, he was quite a decent defensive unit. But mine literally doesn't have any extra dodge. He just has 5 dodge, and mine is literally, I think he's like 17 additional and 14 crit, because if he's doing more than even if he's not critting, if he's double supering, he's pretty much healing you back to full. Like even if you're on incredibly low health, and obviously he does raise defense for 1 turn as well. So if he gets a double super, like I've had him double super and then tank some of these big super attacks for like 30k or something, which is just ridiculous. Like, so good.
In my experience against like physical fusions of Miles, he takes about 400k, 300k damage from that guy. So that's why I'm like, I really do like having dodged him.
Yeah,
but I feel
that's the thing. That's why I think this one of the reasons why
I think is more important.
Yeah, the healing is, that's why he's so cracked, because like I think it is the heroes run that I have going up in a bit. But it's like, yeah, he takes the slot 1 super from physical Zamasu, and he takes like
super attack.
Yeah, that's right, baby. He takes the slot 1 super from Zamasu, and yeah, he takes like over 400k, and then he crits on a super, and I'm on full health. It's actually insane. Like, the
really
comeback,
and
is just
that's
real.
What the heroes team needs, because the HP is so little.
Yes,
so
it's so beneficial.
That's why that's why it also feels like maybe his healing is like more than like he would be on another team, because the team doesn't have as much HP as other teams too, right? So it's like him healing is just so helpful for it. He really like kind of patches up that issue a little bit. I love him. He's a fantastic character.
Yeah, very, very good.
We should have put him last, considering who we have to talk about now.
I mean, we can just skip the next guy too.
How tragic! Terrible. Like, you know how it's kind of always been a meme that Dokkan screws over Vegeta. Like, what is going on? Like, seriously, because
they did not cook with the boy.
The worst, like, I mean, you could say it was Broly, depending on if you want to pick between the two. But like, the worst of the new units is arguably Vegeta, and the worst of the Easy A's is arguably Vegeta. I mean, some of the other ones are pretty bad too. But like, yeah, it's just crazy because again, Broly versus Vegeta in terms of the new units. At least Broly is like, he has links with Rose. He's putting out some okay like attacks and has defense. Vegeta just doesn't really do anything. So like, if I had to run one of the two on my heroes team, I would run Broly over Vegeta. And then when it comes to the Easy A's, Vegeta's potentially the worst. Like, he is the one, we said basically the same thing almost word for word for Limit Breaker Broly when we were talking about his passive and how short it is compared to the other units. I read his Easy A for the Black Marseillan, and I almost had to like double take, and it was like, did they actually do anything? Like, did they actually even give him an Easy A? Like,
no,
so bad.
It's like he could do okay damage. Okay, like if he triple super is fine, but like then he dies. It's like it's
He
like you said,
died.
it's pretty much just like he's like a slightly better Limit Breaker Super Saiyan Lord Broly, kind of. Where it's like he could do like I think he could reach like 2 8 mil or so, like he do like triple 8 mils. But then it's like, sure, okay, but I have to set him on rotation with Dark Mask King. I would rather run Vegito on rotation with Dark Mask King, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
I don't like him. He sucks.
Yeah.
He's a
It's just so weird because like pre-awakening, Dark Mask King was considerably better because I did a re-showcase thing like before the hero celebration started, where obviously at that point these units are a couple of years old now, and Dark Mask King could kind of just about like barely, he could kind of hang in there in some of the events, whereas Vegeta had already like very quickly aged out to the point of being completely terrible. And now they both get their easy A at the same time. And then, yeah, Dark Mask King becomes like a top tier unit out of all of the heroes units in general, like all combined. And then this guy is just terrible. Like how I never understand why this happens in celebrations in general, let alone units like this who are so tied together. Because these two, I think they share every link but one. Obviously, you know, they are King Vegeta and Vegeta. Like, they both got their easy A at the same time, and one of them is one of the best units, and the other one is terrible. Like, I genuinely don't understand how
I don't
this
know,
happens.
man.
One's a defensive design unit, one's a unit designed for offense.
Yeah.
One of them's good, one's bad.
What a surprise, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's so this. You know, I'm not gonna like stay on it for too long, but this goes back to our whole conversation from a couple episodes ago, where I think it was the rosé discussion we were having, and we were like, why do they make them bad? Because they're never gonna be good again.
Yep.
You know, I don't know.
It's just it's so weird how do they like rate, like I wonder how they look at these units when they're designed. Like they design their easy A, and then do they have some sort of way that like, I mean, I guess they probably don't. I guess they don't, but like, do they have some kind of way that they would like rank them? Like if you look at their details, it's like, okay, here's the easy A for this character. This is what they do. This is what their defense would be. This is what their attack stats would be. Like, here's their sort of overall rating out of 100. And then it's like, how do you get in a celebration a unit that is like high 90s, and then you get this guy that's like 20 maybe? It's like, why? Surely you do the designs, maybe different people worked on them, and then when they all hand in like their, you know, they turn in their homework to Omatsu Sensei, and he should read the Dark Mask King one. And he's like, right, there you go, A star, you get a smiley face sticker. And then after he reads that, he reads the Black Mask Saiyan one, and it's like, detention. Like, what are you doing? Redo this and like bring it back tomorrow. But like, yeah, I just don't understand how these easy A's come out in the same celebration, and one of them just gaps the other one so clearly when there's two very similar units that ideally you'd want to run together if they were both really good. Like it just honestly is like baffling how that happens, and it happens all the time, so we should be used to it by now. But it just genuinely confuses me how that happens. Like, it's so weird. It's just, it goes back to the same thing with the banner units. It's like, how are Janemba and Metal Cooler so good, and then Broly and Vegeta are like worse than them, but they all came out on the same day? It's crazy.
Right. I don't know. It's strange. Well, you know, let's just pretend that we talked about Dark Mask King last week. He's so good. Let's go.
There he is.
We're good. Yeah.
Oh man. All right. Well, before we get,
he could be. I still honestly like a Vegeta. I kind of feel like you have to give the top spot to Vegito because he's doing everything, and obviously he's supporting Limit Breaker Vegito, who's probably the best heroes unit overall. But like. I want to say, I want to, in my masked heart, I want to say that this guy is number one. Like, he's so good. But yeah.
I mean, why not?
Yeah, fantastic. Also,
That's
but
so
so
funny.
we said we would talk about it a little bit, but we kind of went on to the easy A straight away. In terms of like ranking these guys, I know this is something that we've been talking about. Like I made a tweet about Vegito yesterday. I know Minato, you made a tweet. You've made your like tier list and stuff. So yeah, in terms of the heroes units, what are we thinking then? Because obviously the big thing, you know, we heroes fans, we were really up against it. We're fighting an uphill battle last year with people calling the units everything from trash to
Yeah, they were
like
garbage last
mid
year,
and stuff,
Yeah.
which you know. But this
Can't
year,
cope anymore. Admit it.
but this year, not only are they
They could.
not mid, they are yeah, Vegito. There's Minato, I'll let you. Well, Minato, you posted your list and I've made my tweet, but actually, let's go
Yeah.
to. I want to since I kind of took over, but Theo, I want you to tell us when it comes to Vegito, Limit Breaker, Super Saiyan 4 Vegito. What do you think? Is he one of the best TURs in the game? How good is he? Which one? What do you think?
Well,
Asking is he if one of the best is a dumb question. You say how high is he?
Yeah, true. Because he is
Yeah.
one of the best, right? Like, but yeah,
Right.
so-
Like that's undisputable.
I think he's, I mean, yeah, like easily one of the best. Is he the best in the game? I mean, in my, you know, like you just said, your mass heart, in my super, you know, my Dragon Ball superheroes heart of heart, you know, I would really like to say yes. I mean, realistically, right? His competition is probably like what, like Piccolo God Goku and like 23rd World Tournament Goku. Like, funny enough, the other top characters on Ningen's tier list. Honestly, from using all of them and using Vegito, I think I'd like to use Vegito even just a little bit more before I'd say it confidently. But I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna be that guy. I'll stay on my heroes bandwagon all day, every day, and I'm gonna say yes. So you heard it here first, folks. Listen, Vegito's the boy. He's the goat.
the boy.
The boy.
I would say my tier list is already posted publicly. Many of you guys have seen it. I'm gonna put him at 2. I would say Ma Junior to what's his face, Vegito to God Goku to 23rd, and I'm not gonna get into it, but that's just my ranking. Vegito is that good. I
Yep.
feel like Ma Junior, I still would put him a little above, just because he does have that giant form in his back pocket, and I think that's really it. But Vegito, like in Fusion Zamasu Turn 1, he's better. It's like they're neck and neck to me. I don't have God Goku in 23rd, kind of neck and neck, but I think all 4 of them are like kind of interchangeable at the same time. Not that I would
Yeah.
put like say God Goku above my junior, but like they're in the same realm of power, and you could argue either way. For a lot of them as the best TUR, they're all really good. But I think I feel comfortable with Vegito at 2, even though he's a little more restricted, like, you know, let's say God Goku or even 23rd. I think that what he's doing is just better than what they're doing most of the time. And the Heroes Team crossover team right now is really good. Maybe in like 6 months, if crossover somehow sucks for some reason, like we could talk about things differently. But I'm gonna rate the units as they are right now. And Vegito, I think, easily fits for 2 for me. If we're talking about like him in comparison to other Dokkan Fest TURs, which, by the way, you know, honestly, I'm just gonna rank Vegito with the Dokkan Fest TURs.
Yeah.
Anyways, because he's basically a
Yeah.
Dokkan Fest, right? He's
Yeah.
a 200% leader. He has a Dokkan event. He takes 77 medals. That's
I
what
think
that
it's
means.
just one of those things as well. Like units, we normally separate Dokkan Fest exclusives to rank separately because no other non-Dokkan Fest TURs really ever come close to them. Whereas obviously the Heroes headliners ideally are in those realms of being a Dokkan Fest exclusive, right? So
Yeah.
I think it's fair because like I would say like you'd probably put Rose, maybe even Fu in a list with the Dokkan Fest exclusives. They wouldn't be as high as Vegito, obviously.
I feel like
But,
you can put
um,
you can consider Rose kind of. He's a headliner. Takes 77
Yeah.
medals.
I guess
200%
Fu
lead.
doesn't, but yeah, Rose I would
Not-
consider.
yeah.
I mean, I would say Rose. I haven't thought that far down the list yet. I don't know if I would put him in the top 10, but he's definitely still
think,
up near the top ish. I don't know.
On my list, I actually had him at 8. I think.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
I need to
had,
relook at mine. I've only been thinking about the top 4 recently because to add on to what Minato was saying, I mean, you and I discussed it like last night. Is you often see people will post the tier lists where it's they'll actually just put tiers, or they'll put the numbers, but the numbers will be grouped into colors, and it's like same color is interchangeable. I kind of feel that that is how we are at the moment with the top four. To kind of expand on what Minato was saying. So the top four is not in this order necessarily, but the top four is Piccolo Jr., God Goku, 23rd World Tournament Goku, and then Limit Breaker Super Saiyan 4 Vegito. But I feel like it just kind of depends on your play style, what you're looking for in a unit, how you like to play the game, like that kind of thing, right? Is which one do you think is the best? Because I feel like depending on that perspective, any one of those four units, you could make at least one argument that they're better than the other three. Because even like God Goku, for example, I think we talked about this before, but like it's like God Goku, if you want a unit who is a really, really good leader, like a really good leader skill, and or like a unit that could just be dropped into like 20 different teams, like God Goku is probably better than the other three in almost all of the other three, I would say, potentially. And then you got like Piccolo Jr. obviously is insane. He does what he does and everyone can see it. But like, you know, Vegito, we all see what Limit Breaker Vegito is doing. And none of those other three units can do that on turn one. Like Piccolo Jr. can have some pretty insane turns and he has the giant form and stuff like that. But he's not doing 15 million supers with a 70% chance to crit on turn one. And then on turn three, doing an active skill and then guaranteed crit. I know his active skill can be used like early and is decent in single combat enemy type situations. Obviously he's a GOAT for the world tournament. Like they just all have all of these different things that go in to make them the top four. And I feel like just like I say, depending on your situation or what you want the unit to be doing, what you want your team build to be doing or anything like that, you could quite easily pick anyone to be number one. And like 1, 2, 3, and 4. Because the thing for me is, I've very much been on the we just converted Minato, so we got another W there. But I've been on the God Goku over 23rd World Tournament Goku train for a while. And the thing I was thinking about when I haven't made my tier list video yet, I'm going to make it tomorrow during the big Heroes Subathon thing that I'm doing. I'll plug that at the end. That's going to be good. I'm going to make my tier list then. But like, yeah, because I was thinking to myself, I think Vegito is probably better than 23rd World Tournament Goku if I was going to make the list. And then it's like, do I think he's better than God Goku? It's like, I don't know, because on that team, you know, if he's got that Vegito with him and he's got like the crossover allies and stuff, I mean, he probably is. And then the final thing I wanted to say about it, because I know I mentioned it to you guys before we started the podcast, but somebody actually mentioned it on my stream earlier this morning, and I hadn't really thought about it that way, because I made a tweet yesterday saying, because, you know, it was a little bit bait, but it was a little bit, you know, it's true. The ring of truth is there. That I said, because I had to I always worded it in this way because I knew people would get mad anyway, but kind of based on what I was just saying about each of these units having their own different arguments. Basically, I just made a tweet that said, what if I said there's an argument for Limit Breaker Super Saiyan 4 Vegito being the best TUR in the game? And one of the number one replies that I saw on the tweet was people saying, no, he's too restricted to be the best TUR in the game. And somebody pointed it out on my stream this morning is, I think it was it 2022 or was it 2023? AGL Captain Ginyu came out.
It's 2022.
And a large majority of the community were like, oh, Captain Ginyu's the best unit in the game. And when people would say, oh, but he's so restricted, you have to run him with the Ginyu Force allies. And then you'd have all of these, like, people be like, well, the Ginyu Force team is basically 4 categories, because it's like Terrifying Conquerors, Space Traveling Warriors, like, it's technically multiple teams in one, and the team can clear all of the content in the game. So now we have Limit Breaker Super Saiyan 4 Vegito, who's confined, like, if you want to say, restricted to a crossover team, which is also like, it can be Power Beyond Super Saiyan, it can be Fused Fires if you want to build it that way, it can be Giant 8 Power, it can clear every event in the game. So why is he too restricted to be the best unit in the game if it was okay for Captain Ginyu, right? So
best unit in the game is crazy, but like best TUR.
Also, think about the other example. They kind of made me think about. We'll talk about him in the future a bit more when he comes out on global. But the kind of meme that is LR Omega Shenron, He could be the best unit in the game or like the best LR, but it would suck because he's locked onto GT bosses, which is a terrible team.
Yeah.
If a unit has a restriction that they have to be run on one team, but that team is one of the best teams in the game, is that really a huge issue? Like, I feel like it's not really.
God,
like,
Goku has to be ran with 6 super class allies. He's only restricted to a certain team.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing, right? So there are like all of the top 4 units have restrictions. It's just some of them are not as awkward, right? Like running Goku with 6 superclass allies. Well, it's 6 including him, right? You can have 1 extreme unit on the team and he still gets his intro. That's a very easy restriction to work around. And then like 23rd World Tournament Goku basically needs a revive slave because he pretty much never gets his.
Gohan Piccolo, woohoo!
Yeah, which I mean they're out there, so it's not hard to work around, but it's still a restriction. And then Vegito's restriction is just run him with the team you would probably want to run him on anyway, and it dog walks every event in the game. It's like, okay, I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Well,
I mean, yeah.
The tier list, I think it's yeah. No, go ahead. What are you gonna say?
Well, you were gonna talk about the tier list. I wanted to talk about one extra.
Oh no, well, kind of not really. I was just gonna say, like, honestly, I'm just happy that he's even considered to be the best, like, as an option for best in the game. Because obviously, not only have we, the Heroes fans among us been, like, bashed down, for a while. It's yeah, we've had it rough in these streets, It's just nice that obviously, it's even being considered as a possibility for the best. So that just makes me happy, yeah.
Yeah, I think I made a tweet saying this as much the other day, but it's just like, you and I especially, like I said it was, just about me, but I know Theo, you have as well. Like, we've always been down with the Heroes celebration. It's always super hype for us. We always try and make the most of it, even when the units aren't the best. But like, it's been super cool this year seeing like how many people have been super hyped, how many people I've seen summoning, people being, all those people that have been skeptical of the Heroes in the previous years for good reasons sometimes. Those same people then turning around and saying like, okay, no, yeah, they cooked this year. Like, it's been very exciting as a Heroes fan to see people enjoying the Heroes celebration and obviously just how good like the team is. But yeah, now we just have to wait and see, like, could you imagine if we get a similar thing to last year? Because as much as people hated the limit breakers, I maintained this whole time, right? I beat every event in the game with no items. But the one event I couldn't beat up until these new units came out was Sin Shenron, which for JP, that's the anniversary content that came out 2 months after they released. Imagine if the anniversary content comes out on JP in February. Like, how hard would it have to actually be to make the Heroes units irrelevant? Because that team is now up there with being one of the best units in the game. It would have to be equivalent to like the release of the Red Zone, like power creep, and then 90% of the game is getting invalidated anyway at that point.
Exactly. I was gonna say if the Heroes team is not good enough for like the new 9th anniversary content, then that's a huge power creep.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, if the Heroes team isn't good enough for the anniversary content, neither is like 90% of the units in the game.
I would say the only time that I could see that happening again is the 10th anniversary. So we'll see how next year's units are going to be. But I think they did really kill it this year. And it's kind of crazy because like there's so much to do in the Sarah celebration, but you kind of forget in like 5 days the next Dokkan Fest are going to be out basically both versions, right? I mean, in 3 days we're going to get a teaser on GP for the newest Dokkan Fest, and it's like,
that's crazy.
Like they're still like they dropped like 18 units, and it's like, oh, next week we have like a new banner and new celebration too.
And then not to mention we still have New Year's on the horizon with the dual Dokkan Fest. Yep, we have anniversary. Yep, so it'll be interesting to see. Yeah,
we'll see. There's a lot coming up, guys.
Yeah, there's a lot. It'll be interesting to see too from our. I swear we bring it up like every week, but in terms of the version sync. How they're going to handle anniversary and how they're going to handle like obviously New Year's and stuff like that. I think honestly at this point they'll probably keep New Year's as like a dual celebration. I think that probably is like not that big of a deal.
They may not be LRs, but they'll keep it as a token.
Yeah, I kind of think that those were just a special case for the superhero celebration, but we'll see. I mean, I guess it's a possibility now that they've done it once, but we'll have to see. But obviously it'll be interesting to see if they do anniversary or not. I think I'm kind of in the boat of people that are saying that probably by 10th Annie is when we'll be like all synced up for anniversaries and stuff like that, but obviously we'll have to see. By the way, yeah, no, what are you gonna say?
Apparently the next Dokkan Fest in Global is like the 3rd of December, which is interesting because JP is gonna be on the 30th at most, 29th, 30th, depending.
Yeah, I was gonna say I swear for Global it's gonna be on like the 29th or the 30th because I think that's when all the sales end, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. The sales are ending there except for the special packs. So yeah, that would make sense then. Yeah, for sure. That's why I thought about that. I did see the sales earlier. Okay.
Yeah, that would make sense.
That's
but yeah, I did. Yeah, that's basically it for the units. Before we move on to our final segment, I did want to mention, by the way, because I know we kind of talked about it a little bit throughout the show here, but they also, I feel like this is just not something to be understated, because I know obviously everybody's talking about the units, which makes sense because, of course, like the units are the main thing. Is the celebration for this year is crazy. Like the amount of content to do for this hero celebration is actually pretty insane, which is really nice because I feel like there's been some times where it's been like, oh yeah, story event, red zone, done, or whatever, but like this time around, obviously, we got the new Dokkan event, which, by the way, it was very nice that they added once again yes, and
dude,
you already know what I'm gonna say, don't you?
Even so, them adding that,
it was still terrible.
But it took me to get all of the Dokkan event medals and then do the 30-stage EZA. I swear it took me almost like 4 hours before I could actually start using all the units, because it's like you awaken Vegito, for example, and then it's like, I really want to use him, but I want to EZA physical Super Saiyan 4 Vegito first so I can run them together. And so obviously, like, rather than do it in stages, I just did it all in one go.
I did too, yeah.
It took like 4 hours almost of actually farming everything, which is wild. And that's one of the things I was going to mention, and I kind of forgot when we were talking about the banner going forwards for heroes, is if like every unit awakens again going forwards, then it's going to be like that many medals again every time.
Oh man.
So they need to add more of these missions. Like how many medals did you actually get from the missions?
I think you got like 56 or something.
Yeah, it needs to be like 100.
It does.
Yeah,
because I think
it was 259 in total or something, and you get 7 every run. It's like, bruh.
God.
It was. I think Annie did the calcs, and it was something like you had to do like Annie, who's in the chat right now. Shout out to you.
Like 30 I think something times.
Yeah, it's 28 runs or something like that, which is kind of ridiculous to say the least, honestly. Yeah, I agree. I think if they do that in the future, maybe for heroes they just need to make an exception rather.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's just because they know that not everybody's going to be pulling all of them, so they just don't think it's that big of a deal. But like, obviously, if you get them all, you're, and even still, if you just get Vegito and Rose, that's still quite a bit, So I don't know. But either way, though, even though it definitely wasn't like a ton, I was still happy that they brought it back for that. So it does definitely look like they're going to be doing
worse. So
oh my gosh, yeah, it would have been terrible. So I do hope that they keep cooking with that, because that's honestly been one of my favorite quality of life changes to Dokkan recently. Yeah. Obviously, we did get the SDBH crossover stone, which you could basically get units. Obviously, older SDBH units, you could pick those up with the stone. I know Global got actual like Dokkan Fest level sales, where we on JP got jack nothing.
We got a 60 stone pack.
Yeah, we did. We got one 60 stone pack for like $17, and obviously the SDBH stones, and that was it. So I'm real glad I saved, because there was nothing to get for sale stones.
It's like so weird. I don't know. And it's like we're gonna get more sales to the next Dokkan Fest, but like so is Global. So like.
Yeah,
Why
I
do,
don't
why do
know.
they shaft us?
Maybe
what's
they
the
just
point?
know that JP players are like more willing to spend money on it or something. I don't know.
Maybe because they're like, oh yeah, global players don't really know about heroes, but JP does, and they want to spend.
Yeah, I don't know,
Luckily,
man.
I didn't have to buy any non-sale stones. I had enough stones. We cooked.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
I got lucky, like I said earlier. Like I got lucky enough with my summons. I actually still have sales that I haven't picked up yet that I need to grab before they
Nice.
Super
end.
Trunks.
Whoa. Easy skip, baby.
He's not even top 10 TR nowhere. It's crazy.
Yeah, he's a stinky boy. But
You know who's
anyway,
better than Super Trunks? Limit Breaker Super Saiyan 4
Yes.
Vegito, baby.
Yes. Yes.
my goat for real. But yeah, so besides obviously that, we also had the Universe Creation Saga story event, which we did discuss a little bit earlier in this video. Obviously, this is basically like, Vegito pulls up and, is ready to fight Fu after he becomes the Dark King Fu. Obviously, this is also where we're getting our Scientist Toa free-to-play unit from. And as well, obviously, like me and Minato were kind of talking about earlier in this episode, this kind of leaves off right before Universe Tree shenanigans happen with Goku absorbing the power and Kid Fu with the wing and everything. So that'll be interesting to see if they do update that story event. Maybe Kid Fu will be like a free-to-play unit, but I would kind of think they would make him summonable, to be honest. Regardless, though, we also had the Great Saiyaman 3 event, aka the request from the charismatic hero of SDVH. What a mouthful of an event. But this was basically like the newest nuking event, essentially. Where, basically, obviously, you're supposed to do as much damage as possible. And this is one of the easiest variations of this event that we've ever seen. Because obviously, you literally just use Vegito and you win. You get all missions that I didn't even try.
I've been doing it while we've been doing this last part because, as we've said already many times, there's so much stuff to do. I still haven't done it all. And I've been going through doing it now. And literally, I think it's the mission to get the damage for each of the stages, I believe is the same as the Don Kia event that we had recently, where it's like 77.7. Basically, every single time that on every stage, regardless of which typing the enemy is, I get to turn 3, do Vegito's active skill, and it does 9,999,999. So it's just easy. Like if you have Rainbow Vegito, you just win every
Rainbow Vegito Friends just wins, right?
Yeah. You just use a Rainbow Friend.
Ridiculous.
Because there are so many of them now. Yeah. Very, very crazy. But yeah, so that was cool. Obviously, we got the EZAs returning for the older EZAs and, of course, the new character EZAs as well, which are all packed into one, which I personally much prefer over the EZA area. I just like it when they do it a bunch of, EZAs in like one event. We obviously, for those EZAs, also had the crossover summon as well, where it was very nice that, of course, for that, you ended up, basically being able to, get a couple of those units if you were missing them. And that banner's nice because, of course, I think it was either last year or the year before. I don't remember what year it was that they started doing it where it has the 330 discounts, but obviously I think it was last year. But either way, that banner,
the EZA
right?
banner has pretty much always been since they started doing it with the ones that just had the EZA characters.
Was it always?
Actually, I think it was always 30 because I remember the.
Because it's like one of those weird like category support.
Yeah,
banners,
that's true.
Isn't it? Yeah, you get the first three discounted.
Maybe I'm thinking like because they didn't do that until like not recently, but like a couple of years ago. Like that wasn't always the thing.
I think they just didn't have the EZA banner until like it was as soon as they first started doing the EZA banner as like a separate thing. Yeah, they just had the discounts.
Yeah, exactly. So that was obviously pretty cool, and I definitely saw a lot of people summoning on that, which was nice because obviously if you missed some of those old EZAs, or if you're new to the game and obviously you don't have them, miss the EZAs, miss summoning for the characters originally, and not to mention I know a lot of people were also summoning on that banner because obviously as we've discussed throughout the duration of this episode, Super Saiyan 4 Vegito, right, is obviously the best linking buddy for the funny man himself, Limit Breaker Vegito. So, of course, right, in that regard, lots of people are going to summon. So that was pretty cool.
I got my rainbow copy off that one, the 90%.
Nice.
Yeah, I normally try and save some stones for if I have to summon on that banner, but As I was saying before, like for some reason this year I got so randomly lucky with pulling unfeatured units from the main banner. I actually pulled like the last copy of Toa and the last copy of Dabura that I needed just from the summons on the main banner. So I actually didn't have
Oh,
to touch the
nice.
EZA banner at all, which was quite convenient.
Nice.
But yeah, so obviously very, very good. I know for me too, the only two I don't have rainbowed is Broly and Vegito, so I'm a little wary to try and summon on it, but we'll see. Regardless though, we obviously got the Heroes EZA area this year with, of course, the addition being Poutine, I believe, right?
Lags.
Am I misremembering that? Lags, that's right. That's right. For some, I always forget. I feel like Poutine is newer than Lags for some reason. Every time I think about them, I don't know why. But that makes sense because obviously Lags is like, with hearts or whatever.
I just realized as well we didn't talk about her at all, but I haven't used her, so I don't even know.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't used her either.
Lags, she has 50% dodge, and then she might support. I don't even know.
All right.
How's that?
W.
Okay.
But yeah. So obviously that for the easy area, and then of course if you have not done those in the past, you can kind of catch up on those and do the ones from years past, which is pretty cool. And then of course this was a very nice surprise. I kind of saw this one in the news and I was like, oh, okay, I'm down for this. Of course, we got the very first Heroes Burst mode. Now, obviously, it's not surprising that it's the first one because, of course, the Burst mode's only a more recent addition to Dokkan. But it was very, very cool because I kind of just was like, I just wasn't thinking that they were going to do one for Heroes, but I don't know. I'm very happy that they did because obviously Burst mode has kind of been like, honestly, one of my new favorite additions to the game.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed, playing through the Burst mode and all that stuff, doing all the restrictions and whatnot. It's a very fun game mode. So it's cool that they added one for STBH. And then obviously we finally have our last basically new thing because obviously they reran all of the crossover stages and stuff like that. They reran even like the ones that weren't STBH, like the Fighters one and all that type of stuff. But of course, in terms of STBH itself, the last new thing was new red zone stages, which is pretty cool. And I'm really glad that they did add more because obviously that tells us that surely in, years to come, basically every year we should be getting new stages for the red zone. So that is also pretty cool. And obviously, adding a little, like obviously they're not like, as difficult as, some of the hardest content in the game for sure. But it's always nice to get a little bit of difficult content with the hero stuff for sure.
Yeah, the good thing about them adding stages to the existing one as well means that when it goes away, it should now be available with keys because it's the same event and has now actually returned to the game. So not that that matters much for anyone, I guess. It's just for if you missed it, I suppose. Because the only thing I would say I think is disappointing about it, like it's cool that we got new red zone stages because they showed that V-Jump leak which showed we were getting a burst mode.
Yeah.
And I saw some people say like, oh, it didn't mention the red zone at all. Are we going to get any more red zone stages? And so like it's good that we got them, but I mean, I'm sure we would all agree. Like we haven't gone into any like real detail, but like they were so easy.
Yeah,
not even close to being difficult at all.
It was so underwhelming. I think it gave like about 50 stones from all the missions, but just I don't know. They should have made it a lot harder.
Yeah, it's like, the thing about the final phase being hearts is he has the countdown super, which actually does do an insane amount of damage. I think it's like the stats it does like 6 million damage or something. But he can be sealed. He can be sealed.
Yeah.
Why? Like.
Yeah. What's the point
you just bring a sealer and it's a joke. Like even the only one that actually has the potential that could actually just kill you, even with like the best teams in the game, and then you could just seal him. So it's incredibly easy, which I think is a bit disappointing because I feel like that's one of the things that not everybody likes it, of course, but some of us, we look forward to the most difficult content because especially when you're getting a team now with the situation that the Heroes team is in, where the Heroes team is actually really good, like you want more actual really difficult events to take them into, not an event that's like the level of you take the new heroes team in. Like you might be someone that thinks like, oh, red zone's the hardest content, so I'll get my heroes units all leveled up and they're all link leveled and stuff first, and now I'll go do the stages, and you just absolutely destroy it. It's like, oh, it's a little bit disappointing.
Is that like, I don't know, because I know it's obviously part of the stages tuning, but is that also not a testament to how strong the heroes team is now?
True, but,
I mean, last year the heroes was actually difficult. Cumber had AoE attacks, right?
Yep.
So like it was like kind of difficult. But yeah, no, Hearts is just a joke. Like it is kind of fun though seeing Vegito just like mount Hearts, but it's
that's true.
Also, like, I want challenge.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't want it to be like painfully hard, so that people who are in that sort of mid to lower level tier, like account, like struggle to beat it. But like, you want there to be a little bit of a challenge. And the red zone is what we could consider at this point like the end game content. And it was just like, I feel like for me especially, I'm the guy that my whole team's rainbow and everything, but like it was just disappointingly easy. Which is a bit of a shame.
Honestly, it's like terrible.
A little unfortunate. But hopefully they add more next year, and hopefully they're a little bit more difficult. By the way, the one other thing that I would like to mention for this for the celebration before we get to our final couple of segments here is they did actually. I don't know why they chose this celebration. I guess it was just because it was the new celebration, but they changed I guess I shouldn't say they changed, or it's weird to say they updated, but the Turtle School training event, they changed it back to the old one, because it, like, kinda, you can explain it if you want.
So it's not like we had I think it was a week or something where it's like launch is guaranteed, and then they made it like that again for the hero celebration. So you want to do that event every day. It doesn't change the like rate you get links at, but you get a guaranteed order Kai.
Yeah.
So you got about like what 15, 16 Kais for that event. So that's cool.
But they did the only reason why I even like realized they updated it was because when I went into the event on JP to do the daily, because obviously I do that event every day. My team that I used was like a really old link level team from like 2 months ago or something like that. So I was like, but then I forget that the way that event works is like when they, change it. It's like it's the same event, but it's technically two different events.
Yeah, it's like that thing when it's like when when the orbs are available every day. It's like that version of the stage is different to the one that's like the solo daily one. So when it shows you your last used team, it's different. Yeah.
Right. Which is kind of weird, but I mean, hey, whatever works, I guess. Yeah. All right. Well, with that being said, before we move on to the very end where we go over any funny super chats and donos and whatnot, we have to talk about our trash take segment for today, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, with this being our Heroes episode, we had to pick a Dragon Ball Heroes related one. And I think that this is going to be a pretty funny one for most people, to be honest. I think that most people are going to get quite a kick out of this one. That was the reason why I picked it. I literally went, dog, this one is funny. I want to pick it. So, well, that being said, our trash take for the day is on the screen. And our trash take, as you can see, is from Prof, who is in the chat right now. And of course, the take is that Raditz is better than Broly.
I just love how we're all looking at the take in disgust.
This is quite funny, to be honest with you. And we did get a little bit more context from the man. This is a bit of a long piece of context, so I'm going to put on my narration voice here and give you a little context to this one, all right? So, here we go. Jokes aside, I literally think that, and you know that I really love Heroes, Broly is by far the worst unit ever released. He has no passive in a regular except 400 attack and defense, right? And a chance for a super. He also has the same SA multiplier like Raditz, Supreme. And I'm totally convinced that now, after 18 months, Raditz isn't the worst card on release anymore. Which makes me happy and sad because I like Raditz and Broly. I also think that they didn't even think about Broly's kit because if you compare him to Tech Super Saiyan 4 Broly's release kit, it looks like an evolved version. Maybe someone in the character designing team thought he was a Pokemon evolution instead of a Dokkan card. It's a shame because he is an awesome link partner for Rose, and I think that they didn't even have to change that much to make him viable. Greatly raises attack for 1 turn while keeping the 4 turns defense buff and stacking damage reduction per super attack 10% up to 50%, and he would have actually been a really nice unit. That's my statement. Thank you very much. Mic drop.
I feel like I want to hop in. So the thing about this comparison is kind of weird because when we look at Raditz, we call him like the worst Dokkan Fest drop ever, or like one of the worst drops because he's a Dokkan Fest. This Broly is kind of, he's not a headliner. He's not like a unit that takes 77 medals. He's not a 200% leader. So it's a little weirder to like kind of put them together like that because Broly is made as if he's like a banner unit. It's like, let's say the STR Kid Gohan that came out with Super Trunks or Zero and Mew, right? We don't like compare them to like Raditz because Raditz as a Dokkan Fest, we have higher standards for him. And that's why I think, for saying like who was worse on release, that's why Raditz kind of feels worse. And he's much more memey than this Broly. Even though it's obviously Limit Breaker Broly, we're not going to hold them on the same level of how good they should be because they're on different levels. And Broly obviously would have Supreme. Raditz has Supreme as a Dokkan Fest exclusive, which is just like, that hasn't happened since like 2016 or something, right? So I think it's kind of weird and different to like compare the two. But I mean, I guess if you're really compare Raditz if you are going to compare, Raditz was a pure Saiyans leader, 200% leader skill, one of the first ones on release. And relative to release, probably was, like I said, a bit better than this Broly because this Broly really, I mean, they're both really doing nothing. I don't know, would Broly be better? Broly probably would still be better, honestly. Just because he could at least do the additional supers and his defense is like able to take normals in most scenarios. I don't know. It's just a weird comparison. I don't know if I could really see W take or L take because it's just kind of weird to me. I don't know if you guys get the same feeling I have.
No, I understand. Ningen, what do you think?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because it's like I said before when we talked about the new units. I don't know who I would say is worse out of Broly and Vegeta. So obviously with the context, like not taking into account the comparison with Raditz, obviously given the extra context, is basically saying that like Broly is now the worst unit release ever. Whereas like I think Vegeta is probably worse than Broly.
Yeah.
But I mean, like he obviously does more. Like he has a bigger passive. He has some tech, but just not kind of anything that is particularly useful. Now I think because I agree with what Minato was saying. Like he is a banner unit, right? He takes 35 medals to awaken.
Yeah.
But the problem is, and we kind of discussed this a little bit before when we were talking about like, we're never going to get another one of these characters kind of thing, is with the heroes characters, even though we would separate them into saying that like these ones are the headliners, these ones are technically the side banner units, so obviously there's a difference in level of power, it doesn't change the fact that they are these units that come out once per year. They're featured on the banner. Then
True.
next year they're going to be unfeatured, so they're going to be difficult to get. So it's kind of like they have this one opportunity to be good, and then when they're not, it's obviously not going to be like it feels like a lot more disappointing. And then but like the thing is, Raditz kind of fits into that same boat, right? Because Raditz is one of those characters where he's like, when are we going to get another Dokkan Fest Raditz, right? So like
Right.
it's they're both in a very similar boat, I guess, in a way, because it's like they're both characters that we're probably never going to see another version of. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
Raditz is probably more likely than Broly, but God knows how long it'll be
Yeah.
until we get like
Yeah.
another one. Of
Right.
them. And yeah, I mean, obviously with power, you have to take into account even with just the average amount of power creep that any game like this has. I mean, you put them both on a 200% team with their best leader skill. Broly is better than Raditz, like, you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, I know the take is kind of put that way for the sort of shock value, because it's now kind of saying that Broly is now the worst release in the game, right? It's kind of overtaken Raditz.
Right.
But like,
Yeah.
if you're directly comparing them, Broly is better than Raditz,
Right.
which
even
we would
then, I don't
expect
think-
because he's newer. But
I don't think Broly's like a worse release if we judge them properly, right?
yeah,
Or else in that situation, we would probably wouldn't even consider Raditz as the worst release, like because there's obviously been units that are even technically worse than Raditz on release, but like a banner unit or like a free to play character, right? You know,
Yeah.
we don't compare those together. Raditz is considered one of the worst releases, or like the worst release, because of the fact that he's a Dokkan Fest exclusive character, right? So I think that has to be the difference, which is why I would probably say L take for this specifically if I was going to say W or L take, because Raditz is still a worse release, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think for me, right, and another reason why I kind of wanted to use this one as well, is that I do think that it is a little bit of that sort of, I don't know if there's like a specific word for it, but it's kind of like that thing where, you know, it's because the unit is new and you're more like, I don't know, passionate about it or angry about it or something like that, right? Like at the time that it happens, right? Like obviously when Raditz came out, everybody was like, to be honest, I feel like I saw more people laughing than were like genuinely mad, but obviously everybody was just kind of like, dog, what is this? You know, like
And he was April Fool's.
right, exactly. Yeah, for real. So, you know, I know that I saw a huge outcry when that happened because of him. And obviously there has been quite a few people talking about how stinky, you know, people feel that Vegeta and Broly are. But I think it kind of boils down to, you know, that whole aspect of it that, you know, people kind of, you know, whenever it's a new character release and people see that a character is not good, they tend to compare it to an older release that was also bad and say, oh, this, you know, this release is so much worse than this past bad release. You know, it's almost, ironically enough, it's kind of the, like, on the opposite end of the spectrum, but still on the same spectrum of, like, you know, whenever we talk about, you know, new units that are really good, obviously they're always compared to, like, units that are good, that are, you know, like, currently good in the game, like, you know, because, of course, you know, we just like to do that. But I think it's kind of, you know, in a weird way, sort of the same kind of ordeal where, you know, basically, right, we like to compare the units who are, you know, bad to each other as well as comparing the units who are good to each other. So
yeah,
I think it's kind of, you know, definitely like that is certainly an aspect of it, I think.
And I would
But,
say,
yeah, what's up, Minato?
one other thing is that you could say, well, the banner that Broly's on, again, like I said, like how Raditz is a Dokkan Fest. Broly's not intended to be the main character. Someone for obviously we would want him to be good, but it's like we have Vegeta, we have Rose, Dark Mask, Dark King Fu on there, right? Raditz was
He's
the
him.
unit. He's the character that you summoned for. He's the headliner. He's the capture.
That's
Broly
true.
is just one of them. But Raditz, it was just Raditz. Also, his banner sucks.
Yeah, that did not help his case
At least this
either.
banner's also guaranteed featured SSR.
Yeah.
That's just another thing you could potentially say. But
yeah.
yeah, that's that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that Broly, like, if you wanted to, in the toughest content, he's still going to struggle. But, like, if you wanted to, you could use him on the heroes team, and then he's not, like, that terrible. Like, he's usable at least. Whereas, like, Raditz was just so bad. Like, it was so crazy after some of the units that we'd had come out in the same year, seeing him doing, like, a 2 million attack stat on a 200% team or whatever. Like, it's just actually crazy.
It was the year 7 LRs into Ginyu, into Majin Vegeta, and then we got Raditz.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, I still can't believe that to this day, man. Like, I really want to know who in the studio let them make Raditz, bro. Who is responsible? We need to get this man off the dev team ASAP. Anyhow, that is it for our trash takes section today. I thought that was a bit of an interesting one, so I thought that one would be a good pick for today. But we are now going to move on to our final section of our episode for today, which is, of course, talking about our donations and stuff right now. Questions you guys got for us. Ningen, take it away, my friend.
Yo, back again. All right, so I've made a note of them here because Streamlabs is often, I think it's only missed one, and that was because it was right at the start, I think before we actually started.
Gotcha.
So I'll go read through these quickly here. Shout out to all of these guys and everyone that came out for the episode, of course. Shout out to anyone who's listening to it on Spotify afterwards or anything like that. But we have we got a £2, good old Great British pounds at the beginning of this. This is before we started the stream. A £2 super chat from Chile that said #Heroes Agenda. You love to see it. Oh, we didn't mention that at all, but we actually got #Heroes Agenda was actually trending.
Really?
Somebody sent me a
I saw
screenshot
that.
of it. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That was
That's
so
awesome.
good. Yeah, we absolutely won. So then we also got, when the program had actually gone into full swing, we got a £5 super chat from Chile saying #Heroes Agenda once again. So loyal Heroes supporters in the chat here today, out here for the
Why doesn't the
Heroes
podcast
episode.
name have #Heroes Agenda?
Yeah, it's weird when, I don't know, YouTube is weird for putting hashtags in the titles for videos.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's in the description, I think, but
W.
But yeah,
Well, then
so
it will still count, I think, because
Yeah.
I think it's like YouTube's weird that it, like, if you put it in the title, it'll still like count for.
yeah,
Like, it doesn't matter if you put it in the title and description. I don't know.
Okay.
YouTube's a funny website.
it is. But then we have a $10 super chat from Philip Rodriguez, who says, we got a side banner tech baby strolling around with big bad bosses, but we can't have a full power Super Saiyan 3 Rosé with it. He seems very big and very bad. What's the logic? Do they use a dartboard?
He's very big and very bad. That's funny.
I mean, so we did talk about it a little bit when we were talking about him during the episode, but yeah, I know Prof is one of our resident Heroes lore experts in the chat, talking about the universe creation saga at the moment. So I think it's like we said earlier in the episode, that even though you might think he is, because, you know, he has the showdown with Goku, he talks about going through all these other realities, defeating multiple different versions of Goku, but he's not like the main boss of the arc. And unfortunately, the way Big Bad Bosses works in Dokkan is that they, but for the most part, they only give it to characters who are the final boss of either an arc of the anime or a movie. So
like
that
Broly
means
Trio.
even like a banner unit,
Like the Broly
apart from
Trio.
Broly, yeah. But,
No, you mistaken. Broly is not the big bad boss.
Yeah,
it's Lemmo. Come
exactly.
on now.
But yeah, so like that's why Baby will probably always have it. Although actually, you know what? Screw it. The Dokkan logic is terrible anyway, because Baby has it because he's the boss of the Baby arc, but they don't give it to Super 17 either. So I don't know what they're thinking, right? Like Rose absolutely should have big
technically,
bad bosses.
Some Super 17s have big.
Well,
bad
yeah, the
bosses.
random SR Awakened ones have it. So Super 17 should have big bad bosses. Golden Frieza should have big bad bosses. And yes, Super Saiyan 3 Rose should have big bad bosses. He also should be on Target Goku because, you know, that's kind of the literal thing that character was doing, is going between multiverses and killing Gokus in like a Jet Li the One kind of scenario. So why he's not on Target Goku, I do not understand.
Yeah, that was a good point as well. Doesn't Janemba have
Yeah,
it?
Janemba has big bad bosses. Yeah, so I don't know.
But I guess, to be fair, I feel like they kind of did that because he was there for like the fight with the Dragon Fist, which like allowed them to become Limit Breaker because they had to power up into it to beat him.
Yeah,
I
it's
guess.
just weird. Like,
He had a fuse into Blue Gogeta.
yeah, and like,
I don't
exactly.
know.
And the thing is,
That's
the reason why I think it hits differently for the Rose as well is because even though he is a Heroes character, and so like he's a different universe version or whatever, but like every other Rose or every other Goku Black that's in the game has big bad bosses, but he doesn't. Which is weird because you want to run him with those other units if you're not running him on a Heroes team, and then that's just another link that he misses out. Because you know they could have quite easily undertuned his kit like a little bit to make up for him then having 25% extra attack and defense. So it's not like they had no way to give him big bad bosses. It seems weird. I think the heroes units, they just have a very weird design process. Like we've said, like if the character fights 2 people in the episodes that they're in, they get a when fighting 2 enemies passive, even though there's no events in the game where it's actually relevant. So they just seem to make these weird decisions based on things to do with the story of the episodes or where I don't know. But yeah, it's very disappointing. I actually genuinely thought when we saw the units being released, even though he is actually like the main boss of the arc, I thought Fu would potentially not get big bad bosses and Rose would. I thought it was like a shoo-in that Rose would have big bad bosses. So honestly, it's very disappointing that he doesn't. So I'm not sure why they did that. But
Hello.
not sure why they did that, but they did. So there you go.
I'm gone.
Hi, sorry, Mama Assets was knocking on the door and she brought me pizza.
Oh, there you go.
I got pizza I should eat after this stream too.
Yeah, I know. This is actually, I think this actually, we have now surpassed the Toon episode. This is now the longest episode of the podcast. So
there's there's so many things to talk about.
Yeah,
exactly.
There's like, I mean, we could have literally just had an episode of just talking about the units with how, like.
Well, yeah, I was joking about it before. We talked about the 7 units that were on the banner, and that took like an hour and 15 minutes. So
yep.
Last couple of shout outs here. So shout out to Caesar for the $5 super chat. He says, not a big heroes guy, but anyone who's saying Vegito isn't super fun and insanely powerful is just lying to themselves. I mean, 100%. Like we had that whole discussion about him, being up in the regions of those units that are the best TURs in the game. So yeah, definitely a W for the heroes fans. No one can call Vegito mid or trash, like we've seen in the past from the heroes slander. So love to see
slanderers.
Love to see it. And then last but not least, shout out to Philip Rodriguez for gifting 5 memberships on the channel. So I appreciate you, my dude. Shout out to Gentleman Thomas, Urban, No Biggie, Demo, and Pally, who all received channel memberships. So shout out to you guys. So yeah, that's going to be it for the super chats and donos. So I appreciate all of you guys helping to contribute to the podcast. And I guess we will wrap it up here. I set my thing. I delayed the thing and then forgot to do it again because I thought we'd be finished by now. I had a video that was scheduled to go up at 10:30 and I changed it to 11 and it's now 11:05. So I'm going to put the link in the chat. That's the video I was talking about during the podcast. So the Heroes versus Fusion Zamasu no item run where Dark Mask King absolutely goes ham. That is in the comments or in the chat, I should say. And then for me to plug my thing, I have my Heroes Subathon stream tomorrow. I did put a tweet out about it earlier today. So it's going to be starting at 4 p.m. UK time, which is 8 a.m. PST, 11 a.m. EST, and then it's 5 p.m. Central European time. We are going to be doing the Dragon Ball Heroes versus the World Subathon. We'll be starting off with the normal. It's versus the world, baby. So we're going to be doing the normal subathon type format. So we'll start off with a timer. Every time we get donos and memberships and stuff like that, the timer will increase. But we will be going through every single event in the game with the Heroes team. So we're going to do all the red zones, Divine Wrath and Mortal Will, the God event and the Goku and the Vegeta event, even though they're the older, easier ones now. Every Super Battle Road stage that could be run with a full Heroes team because of the category. We're going to go through and do every event in the game with the Heroes team. So that will be tomorrow. Hopefully I'll see you guys there. But
and I'll do a mega for you.
I did want to ask you, Ningana, do you think you're gonna try and still try and get that run with the old team? Do you think you're gonna try and go back and do it, or do you think it's just now that we got the new ones, you're just cooking?
Yeah, people were asking me as we got up to the this celebration actually finally starting, and it's just one of those things where I know the reason why I kept doing it is because I got so close so many times that I knew it can be done if you get like the best, or pretty much like the best possible RNG, because the
Right.
old version of the heroes team, you basically had to run at least 1 or 2 characters that basically were like the dodge or die units. So if you get to the final phase, like it would have just happened so many times. I get Sin down to like less than half HP, and I can see a scenario where it's like, oh, I could potentially win on the next turn, and then immediately like Robel or Pan or somebody doesn't dodge the first AoE, and you take 400k and you just die immediately. So if those characters dodged like all those attacks, I would have done it at some point, like potentially a while back. But it's just one of those things that the challenge was to do it with the heroes team, like the units that were available when he
Right.
released. And obviously I've done it now with the new units, so they just absolutely destroy him. But yeah, it's like, you know, it'd be cool if I could do it still, but I feel like I'm probably not going to try, or at least I'm definitely not going to put as much time towards trying to
Right.
do it, because I feel like
When it's like
the point of the challenge is kind of gone now, right? Because all the new units are
Right.
out, so
Yeah.
it's a bit of a shame.
I
Like
got
I say, I feel like it could have happened, but I just didn't get that. I just didn't get the stars aligned for that one perfect run, apparently. So
probably
guess it
just
is what
a
it is.
stream in the middle of December or like January where it's like
Yeah. The run
like,
back.
oh, it's
The
really
run
good.
back stream.
What's so funny as well is like Omega will be the next big challenge, like for global, but with how good the heroes team is, like that's gonna come out, and then the heroes team's probably just gonna walk straight through
Wow.
it. Like it's gonna be hilarious. But
the Heroes team is going to be really good in that fight, for sure.
I'm excited to see that video, I'm not gonna lie. Oh man. All right, well, with all that being said, unless we have any closing thoughts here, I believe that concludes today's episode. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming through. I hope you
yes.
all enjoyed. Thank you for those of you who stuck around for the entire ep. Obviously, this was our longest episode ever, which I mean makes sense because, of course, you know, not only was there just a lot of heroes discussion to be had, but of course, you know, the fact that, I mean, there was, you know, so many new units, so many new EZAs. Obviously, there was tons and tons and tons of stuff to talk about. So, hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Unfortunately, me and Ningen talking about heroes every 5 seconds every episode is going to be no longer a thing for a while until next year, unfortunately.
no, that's all right. Next episode we'll just have a segment on the podcast that's what, like 349 days until the next hero celebration or something.
We'll make a countdown timer. I'll have to I'll just make like, maybe I need to make like a bot or something for Twitter that'll tweet on my account every day, like another countdown to the next celebration or something. That would be funny. But anyhow, thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget, the episode will be up on YouTube if you would like to watch it again, or if you would like to send it to your friends. And of course, as per usual with the Spotify episode version, or the Spotify episode version, the Spotify version of the episode. There we go. I got my grammar in check. Of course, it will be up tomorrow at the same time as today's episode. So look forward to that. And without further ado, that's going to do it for this episode. Good luck on your heroes summons if you're still summoning. And we'll see you in the next one. Have a good one, everybody.
Peace out.